I've seen enough things to lose hope, and here I am still going. I am even stronger now. Evil is lurking around you, and maybe I'm mistaken. You know I'm feeling alright. Like something on my face, something in my veins still hurts. And I don't know what it takes, don't know what it takes to move on. The more that I've done, the less I become. I just live forever within our souls. Some do even know, and life will go on. And then we'll become just nothing at all. Just nothing, just nothing, just nothing, just nothing at all. Nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all. And then we'll become just nothing at all. We've seen all the way to ourselves just to know what it meant, so you took it away. Till times were connected, just like gonna forget it when night is done. There's something on my face, something in my veins still hurts. And I don't know what it takes, don't know what it takes to move on. Something on my face, something in my veins still hurts. And I don't know what it takes, don't know what it takes to move on. Something on my face, something in my veins still hurts. And I don't know what it takes, don't know what it takes to move on. The more that I've done, the less I become. I just live forever within our souls. Some do even know, and life will go on. And then we'll become just nothing at all. Just nothing, just nothing, just nothing, just nothing at all. Nothing at all, nothing at all, nothing at all. And then we'll become just nothing at all. I've seen enough things to lose hope, and here I am still growing. I am even stronger now. Welcome to the LXC.
Your lights flash glow in the virtual battlefield.
Walking in, not letting anybody care, and she is getting a ton of damage off, but we see a massive hook, and we see this engage. We're seeing all these ultis fly out, but Nautilus is doing an excellent job of ulting the Misfortune, not letting that bullet time come through. Now we're seeing Ezreal in the backline here. Is applying so much damage. He is not being touched right now, and it is allowed for them to do so much damage, and unfortunately, we see that fight went south. But now looking up top, this actually is game. This is game for the side of Conduit Prime. Actually, we see the ultimate come out there from the Zaya to avoid, but unfortunately she cannot avoid the Scorpion Sting, as now we see that the carries are back doing damage onto the starter here. But we see that the Leona is out of the fight here. Kinnan is charmed, but we see a massive shockwave to kill the Gwen. We see a two-man cataclysm from Jarvan. And while the only carry left up is the Orianna, but she is full health. If the Orianna is able to play this well, she could be able to pick up these kills. But unfortunately for her, she gets the kill there. But under tower, she has the tower. Kinnan, of all champions, we see the Scar ultimate come out. We see the massive Kinnan multi, but he does a good job of getting shut down as the carries do an excellent job of peeling away with the tanks, putting him back in his place. And now we see that the Kai'Sa is going to fall down, the Nautilus falls down, and this is an excellent fight for the side of Conduit Prime. Kinnan got involved in this fight, while DP Beefy is still up in the top lane. And while she's able to potentially look, and now, wait a minute, speaking of Beefy, they don't know, but actually they do know. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to this excellent week here of Sentinel. It's going to be week 8, and we have an excellent matchup for you. It's going to be RAWR holding down that fifth place spot, attempting to tackle the team in second place right now, BLM, Braum Lives Matter. It's going to be a banger series, right? Both teams have something to prove, fighting for that playoff seed, and it's going to be awesome. But I'm going to be your color caster today. I'm Badger. It's good to be back, and I'm joined by a returning guest. It's going to be Dira on the color. How are you doing today, Dira?
I'm doing well. I'm Dira. I'm the owner of New Origins and support for BM, and it's very nice to be casting today.
Absolutely. You know, Twitch viewers at home, you might be asking, Badger, why are you wearing sunglasses at 8 o'clock at night? The reason for that is I got a mild concussion the other day. I'm in the recovery now. I'm feeling good. But don't worry, I'm not that guy who wears sunglasses inside normally. I'm just giving my eyes a little bit of a extra shield though. So we're pretty chill. But yeah, I mean, looking at it now, this matchup, this RAWR roster is coming in. For the top lane, we have Feathers returning Urgot, Alawi, and Joyer, right? We have Awoke, that mid lane Azir Prodigy. Jungle, I believe we have Shaco this time, not Doki. Rest in peace to Doki. He's not going to come in and give us a good show, but I'm sure Shaco will get it done as well. Jonakis filling in for that 80 carry position. He's been an excellent star. Played Draven last time I saw him. And then Xerix, that Poppy enthusiast, the guy who's going to get it done. And then on the other side, we have BLM. This roster, honestly, on paper, they might not look that strong, but they've come out with 12 wins to 4 losses. That's freaking fantastic. And honestly, on paper, their ranks don't show that they should be competing, but they are absolutely putting up a fight.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting seeing this new RAR lineup with Shaco, who I believe was the original sub for Xerix, is now coming in for Jungle for Doki. So we're not going to be seeing the spicy Doki TP with TP Shen plays tonight. So it'll be very interesting to see him playing in tonight.
Unfortunately, we won't see it, but I mean, getting ready for this draft here, are there any picks that you're expecting to see from these rosters, right? I know I talked about like Awoke, the big Azir enjoyer. Looking at these players' rosters, maybe even prio picks or contested picks for tonight.
Yeah, so remembering from the series in the past that we have watched, obviously Awoke with the Azir every single time it's up, they have B1'd the Azir. I very much expect that BLM will be taking away that Azir in the first phase. Also looking through ADC with Jonakis, I do believe that he will be looking for the early Zaya. I know he has been played it quite a good amount of times, and then Xerix with the very aggressive supports like Poppy. These are all very prio picks. Currently, honestly, unsure what Shaco plays in the jungle. From what I can see, he mainly plays like in the bot laners, but excited to see that. And then looking at BLM, I mean, uh, honestly, they all seem like they have pretty flexible pools, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the prio picks like like the Talia, like the Lilia coming out for them. But honestly, it's a little bit harder to understand what BLM is playing because it looks like they're very flexible.
Absolutely. And I mean, another player I wanted to note out is Feathers. We talked about it and I kind of joked about it, but he has shown a lot of priority for the Urgot, especially, as well as Alawi. And I think Urgot is a very likely ban from the side of BLM, and that leaves the opportunity for that Alawi to be up. Usually, I've seen it done in the past where RAWR is willing to first pick that champ because of how strong it is. And I've seen a lot of people are not able to actually counter it. But then we look at other teams. I've seen Angie has been able to adjust, abuse the fact that Alawi is pretty counterable. If she's picked early, especially seeing champs like the Gwen come out. The Gwen is the main one that's coming to mind. But still, I think that you need to be careful if you're going to be picking these really strong or top laners, and Alawi can kind of get bullied early.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hard counters to Alawi, especially that are pretty strong right now. I mean, Gwen's one of them. Also, the Mordekaiser is pretty strong as well. I definitely do not expect, unless they think that it's going to get banned, that they are going to look to early pick it like that.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's most likely that we're going to be seeing those early ADs picked. I feel like everywhere I go, every time I draft in scrims, it's going to be, hey, can we pick that early AD? Give all the other lanes counter pick. But RAR is that one exception. But maybe we'll see Jonakis is like, all right, I'll play Jin. All right, I'll play Misfortune. And then you kind of build a draft around that because I really think the Misfortune as of late has really risen in priority.
Yeah, looking at ADC, obviously we have seen in the past Jonakis Prio the Zaya. However, right now Zaya isn't in the greatest position with the poke ADCs starting to come back. Like the Prio ADCs right now in the meta are Ezreal, Varus, and MF. These are very strong picks, as well as Jin. And I wouldn't be surprised as we enter into draft now to see those early picked over something like the Zaya with how strong they are.
Heck yeah. And I mean, we already talked about it, right? That Urgot ban coming out for that first one for BLM. And on the other side, pick I wasn't expecting the Anivia. Maybe this is a really strong pick for Kama. But still, now we see in the other picks come out. The Azir we talked about, and Leona, just a really strong pick in the meta. I think honestly these are very good, and it honestly leaves open a lot of stuff. And I'm probably leaning towards that Misfortune or Jin being that first pick, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I definitely think with the Azir being gone, they're definitely going to just look to prio a pretty safe, strong ADC. I wouldn't be surprised to see the MF or the Varus picked early. Also, just like a safe jungler as well could be a very solid pick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then we see the Zyra banned out for against Xerix, and the other pick, Nocturne, was banned very often against BLM. It's one of Stealthy's best champions. Turn off the lights, right? It adds so much mental boom to the other side. These are honestly very expected bans, and I think it's good that these teams have done their homework. They've gotten ready to go. But we're gonna have to see what that first pick is to really see where these drafts go.
Yeah, and like we talked about, it looks like they have first picked that Varus. The
Mm-hmm.
buffs this patch have made him absolutely insane with the lethality buffs, trying to move him away from the tanky on hit build and into the lethality. Also, the Nocturne does really well into the Varus, so I'm glad to see that ban as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we talked about it, right? These priority 80 carries, Varus versus Misfortune. I think they're top two on the patch. I think they both have so much damage output as well as safety in lane to just be able to get to the point where you were able to apply so much pressure in these late game fights, right? Last week, we casted Misfortune, able to get so many amazing bullet times. And when you're paired with a Nautilus, it's going to be even easier to land those on the crucial targets.
Yeah, and looking at these two balling picks, I imagine support counter pick. I believe that should be a Braum. Braum of both really good into the MF and the Nautilus,
Mhm.
and it might be a very solid pick into the. As it looks like, actually, it's going to be a Rakan. So looking for those roams as opposed to lanes, and then just trying to make plays on the map.
I'm honestly really surprised about the Rakan. I had always heard from my support that Rakan actually does not do well into the Nautilus. This looks like it could be a potential self counter pick, but maybe they're just very comfortable. Xerix likes to play the Rakan here. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the Rakan is an interesting pick. It definitely isn't super strong in
Oh,
this lane.
yeah.
But it is a very strong team fighter and a really good roaming champion. So I think they're just going to be looking for that.
Speaking of strong team fighter, this is the first time I've gotten to cast it. I'm an Aurora enjoyer, but finally seeing that champ come out, it is so awesome to see that ultimate come out. The domain expansion, you get so much action, so much outplay potential if the Aurora really is good with her hands. And we're going to see the response, which is Echo coming up from Kama. That is a very staple pick, and it's one of his best.
Yeah, and the Echo does have a pretty good matchup into the Aurora. Very safe, like just EQ auto get out play style that
Mhm.
maybe will help him skirmish well with the Aurora early.
Absolutely. And one of the benefits of Echo specifically is the ultimate from Aurora can only be gotten out of if you have blinks. And Echo's dash does count as a blink, so he is going to be able to escape those, as well as his R is going to give him free access out of these domain expansions, this Aurora ult. So that is actually a very staple pick, and I'm honestly surprised that they didn't consider banning it if they were going to prioritize Aurora.
Yeah, and then like looking at these bands, it looks like BLM's really scared of the split pushers with a Rumble Alawi. As RAWR actually looks like on the flip side, they looked like they wanted to pick the Alawi with these Kennen and Ward bands. So it looks like RAWR is looking for like a bruiser, and maybe Braum it Lives Matters looking for some team fight tank.
Yeah,
Um,
completely agree. And they actually decided we're not going to do that at all. They're going to pick the Graves. I believe I was looking at the stats, and Stealthy has, I believe, a 63% win rate on Graves right now. Graves getting those nice quality of life buffs this past patch on 14-17. If he is able to take away with this game, I think he's going to be a real threat, right? And I mean, honestly, you're still looking to save that top lane counter pick for R5. It's a classic for a reason, right? And especially when you have an Ornn on the other side, you could potentially be able to get away with something really spicy.
Yeah, I mean, RAR looking now for like looks actually for a very strong team fight comp with the Aurora ult, the Rakan ult, the Ornn ult, the Varus. Like they have a huge wombo here, and I think it's going to be very scary if BLM gets into team fights and gets hit by all these wombos. They could just get one shot in a team fight around objectives.
100% agree. And now they got to be careful of Mr. Bug, right? He's going to be lurking in the jungle. He's going to make sure to actually go after this misfortune, make sure she's not able to get that free bullet time off. And that applies a lot of pressure right now, right? You have the Rakan who's going to be dashing in. Aurora's going to lay down her ultimate on you. Bug's going to jump at you. This is a really hard game if you're Drakenrich, right? You got to be so careful with these ultis. And right now, I'm really leaning towards RAW's draft right now. I think it has a lot more flexibility, but Shin gives them a little bit of structure, gives them a little bit more frontline that they might have needed as well.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of quite surprised with the Shen as the counter pick. Shen does have a pretty good time dealing with tanks early. However, in team fights, I am going to prioritize having the Ornn. The Shen can ulti the MF, but I do feel like maybe looking into since Ra has such a strong team fighting comp, looking to maybe go for that split push kind of, or and go for pick with split push.
Hmm.
Since the Ornn that will allow the Ornn to either sack a bunch of towers or not enter any team fights.
Hmm. Completely agree. And I mean, like I said, I think there is a lot of flexibility looking at the picks from both sides, right? You see a more oriented pick comp with the Varus, the Rakan, the Kazakhs on side. If one of these champs is out of position, it's going to be really dangerous. But then there's also a good amount of like counter engage, right? You have the Shin to cast his ultimate on a potential out of place target, as well as the Echo who has a lot of safety with his ultimate, and Graves who's going to be just able to apply a lot of damage, kind of can fend for himself as well.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at like the way like both teams want to play, RAR really wants to look to skirmish with this Kha'Zix with the Aurora Rakan. And this BLM team really wants to look for those picks with the Echo, with the Nautilus. Um, Shen also causing a little bit of chaos with the skirmishes. I think BLM's definitely going to be looking to make these aggressive plays early and try to get leads with skirmishes. I imagine both supports probably going to be mostly roam heavy, and then just Varus MF going to be trading waves.
Mhm.
But it'll be definitely really interesting to see how the teams play out the early game here. I think both teams don't really want to scale; they want to like look for these skirmishes.
I agree. I do want to really see that matchup between Xerix and Fifi, I believe, to see kind of how these supports are going to be playing it out, right? Rakan and Nautilus are both going to be wanting to get involved with these lanes, right? Aurora and Echo is a very volatile lane. You don't want any of these champs to fall behind, or they kind of become really useless. I think there's going to be a lot of action between this bot lane and this mid lane, and I think it's going to be a spicy one that's going to get pretty bloody early.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that the Rakan is going to be really like is going to be interesting because in isolation in the 2v2 he's going to want to get out as early as possible just because the MF Nautilus have so much early game pressure on him. He can never really look to trade. He has to just look to try to play safe and then look for these roams. I imagine we might see like a symbiotic souls and just look for early roams on grubs and just try to play around this Kha'Zix because I don't think that Varys or Khan are able to really pressure in this lane.
I completely agree. Also, with a bit of an update for the Sentinel League itself, we have now just found out that Dropping Point Hellfire unfortunately did an FF versus Needlessly Large Rods. So that series today is going to be going over to NLR. Congrats to them. But unfortunately, it ends up being an FF, right? We always want to see some games here, but still. We're going to see how that affects us. And now, with that, we found out that NLR now has the chance to still be in playoffs, right? They have this week where they get the win, and now they really have to show up in week 9. So, congrats to them, I guess, for being able to push on. And it's going to be good, I think.
Yeah, that's actually really big for the NLR's team because, as far as I'm aware, it looks like they have completely changed up their roster as they are looking to try to get those couple wins. So, giving them some extra practice time could really help them make that playoff dream and make that playoff chance happen.
Absolutely. But it's also going to have to be affected by RAWR, right? RAWR is going to need to be able to drop this games. If BLM wins this series, that really does help NLR's chances of getting into the playoffs. But we're going to have to see how this series goes, right? They're getting their loadouts together, but we're going to see when we hop in a game.
I thought I had it figured out, believed in us, we were meant to be, no doubt. A teenage love, everybody else could see the way we were, living in a fantasy. When I kiss her, I don't know where we going, I don't know at all. I don't know how we growing, I'll be moving on, I'll be moving on, gotta let it go, living on my own, making me strong, now I wanna show I can hold my own, see how much I've grown, better off alone, baby, I know it all along. So sorry for the heartache of saying goodbye, for wasting your time, for wasting your time. I don't know how we growing, I'll be moving on, I'll be moving on, gotta let it go, living on my own.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome to the Rift. Get some action started here, as both teams seem to be just going for that standard 5-point, right? They're kind of feeling each other out, as I like to say, trying not to go for that cheeky vision on both Raptor camps. But, I mean, do you think there's going to be any action here at this beginning point, Dira?
No, but what I did notice is that MF is really quite worried about the cheese from the Rakan Ferris, which is a little bit interesting. I actually expected MF Nautilus to be looking for that early level 1 cheese because they're so strong in the early levels. But
Mm-hmm.
just looks like it's going to be a pretty chill, nothing happening, no invades, looking like they're all happening on the map as we're just going to look. It just looks like a pretty standard first minute of the game.
Absolutely. And I mean, you echoed on it, right? But the Nautilus is kind of like that champ that you expect to get involved here. But he kind of got involved, right? We see that a ward was placed down in the bot side, so it's going to deter the side of BLM, make sure that they know that we're not going to get cheesed by that Varus Recon that you were talking about, have that really strong level 1. And now we also see Nautilus gets a cheeky ward on the Raptors as well, spotting out the Kazakhs, which really gives an advantage over to the Graves.
Yeah, it does give an advantage over to the Graves, but it does also mean that Avaris or Rakan are probably going to get some good early prio here because the Nautilus isn't in lane yet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know I talked about that vision, but also it seems like the Graves also got a cheeky ward put on his red. So now both junglers are going to be spotted in this early clear. So we might not see a lot of action that we normally would with these junglers hidden away.
Yeah, and if you notice with the way they're pathing opposite of each other, and that's actually pretty common. I think that's both correct. Graves really wants to play for this really strong side lane of the MF Nautilus, and I think Kha'Zix is making the right call to not get himself involved with the Graves because they probably win the 3v3.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. I think that MF Nautilus is too strong at this point. But I mean, we're seeing some early trades coming out here. Mid lane especially, it's going to be kind of an even matchup for the time being. Aurora's going to get a little bit of poke on it early. Also, that it's a base chroma. It's my favorite chroma, but that's besides the point. So now we see Graves is actually looking for a potential cheeky 3-camp top gank. I mean, now we see the taunt come out from Shen. He's trying to get involved here, trying to buy enough time for the Graves, as Graves is choosing to go in, never mind. He's going to walk away. Walk away. He's not getting involved this time. And now
Yeah,
he is exposed.
yeah, I do think that it was a bit weird of a play by Shen. He really went in super early, and because of that, Ornn knew something was
Speaking
going
of
on.
going in early here, we see that Echo's having to burn his flash as Kha'Zix shows himself now mid lane. And he's honestly heading over to the blue where Graves is taking his camps right now. We might see a little bit of, another bit of a scuffle here as Kha'Zix is pathing directly towards that blue. But now we see some action bot lane as Varus is trading very aggressively onto the Misfortune here. And we see Rakan getting involved as well. But it looks like now the side of RAWR is on the retreat. Both are trading evenly and ends up being a decent trade. Now we're pathing back up to jungle. We see it that the Kha'Zix is chasing away Graves, and we see a lot of action mid lane as now the Kha'Zix is jumping in, but it looks like he might be a little in over his head as Echo's choosing to go in on the Aurora, forcing out the flash. And nothing ends up happening above it.
Yeah, it looks like some early chaos, but unfortunately nothing really coming out of it. However, Echo's in a really tough spot here. He has no TP and he is no flash, barely healthy with 0 pots, and he's just in such an awkward spot. He's probably gonna have to take a bad base here.
Absolutely. And very aggressive trades here from the side of Awoke. I honestly think if he waited on that shield to drop from the Echo W, I think that could be a chance for a kill. But still nothing yet. This and Kama's kind of having to force himself back, and now we see a little bit of trading up top. Taunt goes wide, but they're just trading grass prompts. That's what tanks do. But now we see that the Kha'Zix has been spotted. So even though we had that scuffle earlier, I think we're kind of going back to a little bit more of a chill pace.
Yeah, just now like lanes pushing. I do think that for the time being, if Aurora isn't able to really kill this Echo, Echo just has 0 prio in this lane, which means that Kha'Zix on this base can look for an early Drake or Grubs timer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, like we said, Aurora has that level up, right? She has the control over the wave. She's going to be able to set herself up for a slow push into a potential base to be able to set herself up to have that item advantage going into this dragon. Or she could even just use the fact she has the health advantage to stay on map and just apply a ton of pressure to this Graves.
Yeah, I do imagine. I don't think that Aurora's gonna want to let this Echo reset. I feel like she's either gonna crash this wave base and immediately TP back, so that Echo has to lose some minions, or just force Echo to stay in lane and just keep applying this pressure. Because Echo at this point, he has barely any mana. He has no health, no flash. All he has is the ignite. It's really hard for him to play the game at the moment.
I completely forgot about the fact that this guy took Ignite. Regardless of what happens, he's going to have to sack waves here because of this bad trade. And that's one of the downsides of taking Ignite. You get that kill pressure, but if you don't abuse the fact that you have that kill pressure early, you really are going to get teleport cheesed. As I like to say, they're going to use the fact that they have that free base to really make you lose a lot. And now we're seeing mid. We see that a lot of minions traded. But now we're seeing a little bit more action topside. Nope, never mind. Tiny Fist of Fury does have 6, but Ornn does not have his 6 yet. And so they're able to trade it out. Nothing happens too crazy there, but
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty solid CS lead from Aurora and item advantage off of that one play early. Echo just losing way too much HP, and then him not having TP just means he has to sack away some minions and XP.
completely agree. And what was not noted here is it's going to be an objective trade as Kha'Zix looks to be uncontested on that dragon. But now we see the Nautilus actually brought up to make sure that these grubs go into the pockets of BLM. And I think it actually is a really good trade. You have a lot of split push threat with that Echo, as well as a potential Shin who's able to come in with his ultimate. Do you think this trade ends up being favorable for them? But now, actually, we might not have time to talk about it as Awoke seems to be out of position. As you see the Nautilus hook in, get the engage off. We see Echo go in, but we now see the Aurora is using her ultimate to buy a lot of time here. She just does the thing. She's going to bounce away and she's going to walk out. And it looks like they're not going to be able to get that pick on the bunny girl.
Yeah, I mean, Aurora also burned is still a pretty long cooldown this early, so that means that Aurora won't be able to really look for skirmishes for the next 2 minutes or so. Actually, it is. I was very surprised by this trade because I thought the opposite was going to happen. I thought because they still have the strong side bot lane, that they were going to look for the early Drake. But actually, it looks like the opposite has happened, which does actually I think favor the
And now we see the
Lars-
Nautilus is getting an ulti off, or in the hook off the dredge line onto the Kha'Zix here, but Rakan's here to back him up as we're able to get the root out from Varus. And we see while the bullet times goes wide, it's able to get the Shaco low. And we see the flash come in from Dragonrich. He's able to finish off the bug. And now we see that Rakan is super low here. As we see that Nautilus is going to fall. The Misfortune, it's the 80 carries fighting it out, but they forgot about this Shin ultimate. We're going to see if Dragonrich can get involved. Make sure, but we see a nice flash taunt there onto Jonicus. And unfortunately, the E goes wide. Is he going to have enough range? No, we don't see the bounce. I thought that was going to be a bounce there. He gets the kill on the Rakan, but Varus is able to walk away scot-free.
Yeah, actually, that fight was kind of crazy. I mean, I thought RAWR with the pick onto with the Varus ulti, I thought that it was going to be a very RAWR favored fight, but the Shen ulti and the MF being basically untouched, and MF being such a strong early game champion means that MF actually I think benefited, even though it was a somewhat even trade. I feel like the MF did benefit more from it because those 2 kills are really big this early.
Yep, completely agree. And you want to talk about a potential switch up. We see that now this Aurora is half HP versus the Echo, and Echo has so much kill threat with the safety from his ulti. And now we're seeing Wilkus having to take unfortunately, not a very good basis. He's going to lose a lot here mid.
Yeah, it's a really an unfavorable trade, and then now it looks like Echo is able to get a lot of this lead that Aurora has over him completely taken away. And that did just come from the fact that Aurora did not have a lot of her cooldowns, and Echo was able to kind of get that lead back off of that one Nautilus roam.
That Nautilus roam, right? Forcing out that domain expansion from Aurora, right? And she's getting punished for it. As an Aurora player, I think what you want to be, you honestly cannot play the game unless you have ulti, especially in these fights. But now, we're not going to talk about Aurora. We're going to talk about the fact that this Nautilus and Misfortune might be out of position as we see that the Rakan and Kazakhs are going around looking for this potential engage here. As we see Rakan's able to land his knockup, and Misfortune is absolutely going to fall. But Jonikis is trading on a Nautilus instead of finishing off the Misfortune, but he switches it around. But now it looks like Cristobal is going to be able to get out of this one scot-free.
Really big overextend. I mean, we see that they have no vision and try. They just.
Now we're seeing a lot of aggressive pings here as Shaco is getting involved, finding him Stealthy. Stealthy is having to flash out, but we see Echo's getting involved, making sure he's going to be able to use his W. We see that Graves is able to kill the bug. Aurora's able to use that ultimate to get the Graves, and now we see it's a 3v2 for the side of RAWR. RAWR is getting involved, and Echo's forced to use his ultimate out, but Xerax does a great job of following it, using the knockup. We see the flash come out from Kama, and he's able to get away, but that's not a great trade if you're on the side of BLM. But now, continuous fight here as Awoke is in a good position as he's getting hooked here, but he's very high on HP. We see that this Aurora could get a lot of precision. But now, the bullet time comes out, and Awoke is not able to get away from it, as Xerax is also chunked low. And while the Aurora did fall, Xerax is able to walk away with his life.
Yeah, overall, again, a pretty even skirmish. It looked like RAWR was really favored. I thought RAWR was just going to use those picks and broken ults from the to get a good prio for the CP Grubs.
We're seeing more aggressive trading here as we see that Stealthy is getting engaged on, but he has the Shin to back him up as Shin is getting involved here. But Ornn is going to be able to use his ultimate, finish off Graves there, and now it is a Shin all on his own, fighting a 4v1, and I do not think that is the favor, and that is not the place you want to be, as Jonikis is on a killing spree.
Yeah, I mean, the RAWR playing their comp beautifully, looking for those roams with Rakan, looking for those skirmishes with the high AoE CC they do have, just makes it so that it's really hard for BLM to play these skirmishes out. If it's like a 3v3, I mean, it's just so hard with how much CC they have.
Completely agree. And I mean, now looking at this wave state, right? We talked about the priority and the damage that's going to be coming out from these 80 carries. I see 80 carries with 3 kills apiece, right? This Misfortune already has her BT completed. Varus doing a great job going for that opportunity rush, right? That lethality Varus. It's going to apply so much damage if you are not kept on your toes.
Yeah, I mean, that lethality Varus, right, with how ahead he is, can just ulti and take off like someone's head just like that. I mean, it's definitely a very, very scary, especially with this MF actually surprisingly not having.
We're seeing some aggressive trading there from Kama. Sorry I interrupted you there. I thought there was going to be something spicy, but they're just hanging out. They're just letting each other know who's boss.
Yeah, they gotta show that they're ready to fight at any moment, and we gotta be on our toes in this cast. But looking at the MF, it's actually pretty surprising that she does not have cleanse. So if Varus ult hits the MF, I mean, all she has is the barrier, which means that even though they are both even on kills, as soon as Varus hits one good ulti, they can just use the follow up on the Kazakhs Rakan to just completely one shot this MF. And if she does not have flash, she has no way of getting out.
And speaking of ultis there, I thought the Varus ult was going to come out on that Echo. They're trying to fight over this vision here as they really want to keep this control, but now we see the Dredgeline come out onto the Aurora. He's on. We see the ultimate go wide for Varus, but bullet time is going out, and we see massive domain expansion as it hits all members of BLM. Kha'Zix is getting involved. He's able to chase after the Echo. The Echo used his ult, and he's not able to get away from it. And now we see it ends up being a 1-for-1. And now they're both trying to contest, trying to get that. Oh my goodness, that is a massive, massive Varus Q. We're talking about that lethality Varus thrust. And now we see Dredgeline coming out on the Kha'Zix, but that Kha'Zix is pretty high in HP. But now we see the Kha'Zix jumps into his Jonicus, and now he's gonna get hit. We see just Draken is doing a lot of damage here. Draken's in a good spot. He has the bounce. He has the opportunity here. I think this is a potential for a lot of damage. Oh my gosh. That is too much damage from the side of Varus. He's on 1 HP, but he said, I'm going to make sure you go down.
Yeah, I mean, now we can just see the power of this really strong lethality Varus pick. Even though the fight was relatively even, the fact that Varus has so much more range, he has the amazing poke from his Q with those Q buffs, it just makes it so extended fights like that at range just do not favor BLM, because the MF, even though she's just as strong as that Varus, she can't really reach the same range as him without her ulti.
Absolutely. And I honestly thought that it was a disaster when Shaco, the jungler, jumped into his AD carry and got the double knockup. But it ended up working out, right? It didn't chunk him all the way. And we're able to just see that power that you're talking about with that Varus, right? It does so much damage. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just see that as long as RAWR plays things slow, plays things patient, even though they're not a team that really is known for being patient, if they're able to just play for the poke, they can just be a really strong team, because MF's damage is very front-loaded with that MF ulti, and once that ulti is expired, it's unless they can get a good engage with a Dredgeline onto Varus, Varus is just kind of able to free reign poke.
I agree. And I think there is potential of the threat, but now we're seeing some aggressive trading topside. I think it's going to be 2 tanks, though, so I don't think anything really crazy is going to happen. But Ornn's abusing the fact that he has his item advantage up. He has that heart steal. But now, looking bot, we see that Stealthy's getting into an aggressive position here. Maybe looking to dive. I think it might be hard. You have pretty much full HP on the Rakan, full HP on the Varus. But they're positioning here very, very aggressively. But it looks like Stealthy's going to back out. He realizes maybe... Oh, actually, maybe not, as he's spotted. And now we see Xerxes is choosing to go in with the Grand Entrance. And walks out. And nothing ends up happening of it. But we see Echo as also positioning here as the bot lane of RAWR is having to back off and potentially give this bot lane tower.
Yeah, and it just looks like they're trying to cross-map bot, knowing that Kha'Zix is in the top side, and just getting this MF more of a lead with sending all their members bot side.
Completely agree. And we talk about that gold lead. Even though Varus has the bounty on his head, Misfortune still has more gold, right? She's up 500 gold here. And honestly, she is the person who has this gold lead for the side of BLM. But now we see the hook go wide. Awoke doing a great job of being a rabbit, going through the rabbit hole, looking glass, making sure that she's going to be in a good spot. But there's a lot of people hovering around mid right now, and as we see, the members of BLM are pinged. They are spotted on this board, and it looks like Awoke should know, but he's actually choosing to engage here. They're going on Drakenrich as the quickness is not able to get it off immediately, but they're able to do a ton of damage here. But the Shin ult comes wide, but Shaco is there. But no, he's able to get the damage off, and Echo is getting involved. He's going to be able to take Awoke even with the Grand Entrance. It's not enough as Ornn is getting involved, making sure to knock up Kama here as Kha'Zix is on the backside. He's running away, Shin, but he's able to jump over the wall, and now we see that while the tanks are trading on each other, Ornn versus Nautilus, I think nothing's going to end up happening, but now we see Shin and we see the Graves are getting involved here, making sure, but we see the Dredgeline land on Ornn. They might have enough damage, especially with the Graves and the Echo here, but we're seeing the Ornn flash away, and we end up seeing it ends up being a 1-for-2 on the side of BLM.
Yeah, such a good Shen and Echo peel for the MF there. I thought the MF was for sure dead, but the Shen ulti being absolutely massive, and then the 3-man Echo W stun just completely changed that fight, and it ended up being a pretty positive fight for BLM.
Absolutely. I mean, it bought Drakenrich the time he needed to do his damage, right? Even though he got the Aurora ult placed on him, he got the Kha'Zix running at him, he was able to still stall enough with that Shin ultimate, with that Echo to protect him. And while he did end up falling at the end of it, I think they were still able to do a good enough amount of damage to put up a fight in that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for how that fight started, I mean, that was a overall really positive result for BLM. I mean, they were really able to get a lot out of that. And as you can see, even though the kills are 10-6, I mean, gold lead is so close. These teams are so close that honestly, fights are just going either way, and it's very up to execution right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, all of this gold right now is on the bug, right? Shaco is doing an excellent job. He's up 1.3k right now. But for the rest of the map, honestly, these lanes are pretty even at their state, right? We see the Misfortune is up only 200, while top lane they're up about 300. But right now, Shaco is the one who's going to be doing a lot of damage here. As we see, he summons Shelly, tongue twister here. But now we're seeing a little bit of engage here. Xerix might be out of position as he's choosing to walk away. But RAWR is getting involved now. She catches two. We see so much damage on the Graves. They're able to combo their ults so well. But Echo, he's able to go back in time and do so much damage to a Woke here using that fact. And he's able to get involved, but now Graves is under tower, and they could look for the potential redive here. But now we see Nautilus coming back in. Oh my gosh, Kha'Zix is able to kill Echo there. And right now it looks like Crystal is out of position as she goes in for the dredge line, but it hits nothing. And we're speaking of hits, nothing. That Varus ult goes wide. The Kha'Zix W is able to land on this, and what is going on? As we see so many spells go wide here, but it ends up being that they end up getting the kill on Kama and Stealthy.
Yeah, such a crazy fight. I'm not sure why the Nautilus walked there without if the MF was not also following, as overall. So even though Graves originally both members did get out at 1 HP, it just looks like the Nautilus caused it, so it actually ends up being a really positive trade for RAWR. Really good pick with the Aurora and the Kha'Zix and the Rakan. I mean, that combo that we talked about, that really strong skirmishing. That's exactly what RAWR needed.
Completely agree. And what we also need to talk about is the fact that off of all of these skirmishes, we've seen that Kha'Zix has gotten 3 of the Drakes. They are on soul point now. And even though you think that there would be a potential trade topside, we see that Ornn's still able to get that topside tower here as well. So this is a really, really nice gold swing for the side of RAWR, right? They honestly went up 2k just from this play alone.
Yeah, I mean, RAWR playing the map really well, looking for those skirmishes with their high mobility champions.
Speaking of skirmishes, we see that the Rakan choosing to go in on the Nautilus here as Shaco follows up with that grand jump. But we see that Cristobal is doing a great job of stalling time, but the quickness is not enough. But we see the Shin will come out, and if they're not able to burst then it's going to be a great trade here. And now we see Domain Expansion come out from Aurora, and he does a great job of not letting Cristobal out as they're able to pick up the kill, but the Grand Entrance does go wide. We see bullet time. Unfortunately, it's not in a secluded space, so they're able to walk away from this one.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just like a pretty good Shen ulti onto the Nautilus. Unfortunately, the domain expansion just causes Nautilus not able to get out, and it's overall still, again, a very positive trade for RAWR. They did get really big ultimates out. The MF ulti, obviously, is a super important for the MF to keep for these crucial team fights, and the Shen ulti is on such a low cooldown.
I completely agree. I think with a lot of these fights, but actually I was going to talk, but I see that Kama is in a very aggressive spot looking on a Jonicus, and I think, well, that Q does go wide. I think that is going to make it so he's not able to get that potential kill, as we see Kama still trying to trade with that Ignite, with the aggressive, and he misses another Q. He's not able to get his damage off, but we see Echo choosing a recall. Awoke is pretty low here, but he's got Xerix to back him up. Cristobal misses the ult, but now we see Kha'Zix. The bug is on Misfortune. She is by herself, and the bug is doing so much damage. He's able to pick that isolated solo kill there. But now we see Echo coming in, the Nautilus coming in, and Shaco's doing a great job of applying so much pressure, and he is the beast right now.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these two assassins, I mean, they're both really strong, and we see the power of that Echo pick to get those against the Aurora. He's just completely unleashed because he has so much movement speed and so much burst. But we also can see that if they're not careful and they leave the MF to go help other teammates, I mean, Kha'Zix in a perfect position to just pounce right on the ADC, pounce on that carry for BLM. And it becomes a really difficult spot for BLM to play. If they look for those picks, they can just have their MF completely die.
And I mean, we talked about it even at the start of draft, right? The side of RAWR, they're very willing to go for these skirmishy picks, right? They're willing to look for someone who's out of position. This Bug, this Aurora, she's going to be able to lay down that ultimate. They're going to be able to trap someone if you step out of position. For the side of BLM, they really want to get into these team fights, right? They want to be fighting over these in these jungles. Make it so that they don't have a lot of room to maneuver around this bullet time. And I think that really is going to have to be the angle that BLM looks for if they're going to be able to want to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, just super, yeah, they just really need to be careful of these picks. I mean, RAWR has so many buttons to stop this MF. And this Echo, I think, needs to just try to look for these picks onto the Varus, onto the Aurora, like he was doing there. But when he goes for those picks, they have to be really careful about RAWR not doing the same.
Absolutely. And I mean, like we saw, the Echo went for that play. He was unable to get all his spells off, and the Bug absolutely capitalized on it. Bug doesn't have to hit as many spells as the Echo does to get his one shot off, but I think it's going to be a battle between these two assassins, right? I might favor the 6 and 2 assassin over the 2 and 2 one, but we'll have to see how it ends up going. But right now, these lanes are just choosing to farm up, right? No objectives coming up, but we do see Soul. Soul Point is going to be on the horizon here.
Yeah, and this soul will be absolutely massive for RAR if they're able to get it. The Chemtech soul stopping, giving the 50%, or when they're lower than 50%, giving the damage reduction and the tenacity. It's going to be so important for stopping the pick potential of the Echo of the Nautilus.
And now we see that the members of RAR, they know how important that soul is, as all 5 are gathered here around it to make sure that they claim it, right? But honestly, they're losing a lot on the other side. Shen is wailing away at that top side tier 1, but we see Nautilus now is out of position. He unfortunately face checks, and he is absolutely punished there as Kha'Zix picks up another one for him.
Yeah, just a really unfortunate mistake. Nautilus not waiting for his team to come off of resets to get the vision together now allows RAR to get that really easy pick.
And I mean, we do talk about it. The one bright side for BLM potentially is the Ornn ult was used there, and he was not able to get an assist. So that could be that they use their ultimates on the Nautilus. He's going to be up in 10 seconds, so maybe they're able to put up a fight. But right now, RAR is in such good position, especially with this misfortune isolated from the rest of her team.
Yeah, I mean, the only way BLM can really contest this is if they're able
Now,
to
speaking of
spell through
contest,
the
we see that
Nautilus.
Stealthy looks to be caught out as the quickness gets involved, but we see the Shin ultimate come out, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage. Oh, he's able to E out and R out to make it so he isn't caught there, but now it's just Shin, as Echo's now getting involved, but the Varus ultimate lands, but we see Bullet Time, unfortunately, is not able to pick up the kill as Shin, it falls to the Ornn with the double kill, but Stealthy, he does not realize that Aurora is hanging out with him, and she's able to pick up the kill, and now it's just Cristobal by herself, as that ends up being a 4-for-0, and that is absolutely a disaster for BLM.
Yeah, I mean, just pick after pick by RAR, really good punish. Stopping the jungle and the Nautilus just walking up by themselves. They really need to be looking to walk as a team if they're not set up first, as RAR just has the easiest pick if they do.
Completely agree, right? I think they had no business fighting that, right? With the Nautilus falling down, they do not have the front line that they need other than a Shin, who's going to be wanting to sit on side. And especially when your misfortune is sitting mid lane, trying to hold that tier 1, I think there's no business to fight that. And realistically, that's not what we want to see from Stealthy and Cristobal.
Yeah, that most definitely. If they were going to contest that, I think they had to walk through mid, walk as a team, look to try to contest some of the vision. Xerix with a really good vision setup, just denying any chance of them being able to walk in without having to face check, just makes it super. It makes it super problematic for the side
Obviously.
of BLM.
Now we're seeing the engager. We saw that Nautilus went for the root, but now Aurora getting the ultimate off, and we see Varus is getting so much value here. Gets the R, gets the Q, but it's not able to do enough damage as Kama's able to go back in time here. But he's still super low, getting hit by 2 Qs. Nothing ends up happening there.
Yeah, I just imagine both mid laners are going to recall.
Speaking of getting involved here, we see that Xerix actually chooses an aggressive flash. Actually, pardon that, it's the Nautilus flash. He's having to flash away from the really threatening Birdman. But it's not Michael Keaton. That's Rakan over there.
And just look at how well RAR is setting up Vision, understanding that they want to be the ones to initiate first. If Nautilus is able to get a good initiation, the MF follow-up and with the Echo can be really problematic. So really good setup from RAR, making sure that BLM, with being behind, cannot walk in.
Completely agree. As we see 3 members kind of huddled around this mid tier 1, right? That is their saving grace. Even though LS hates it, I think it's a valuable turret, and RAR agrees as they're going to take it. And honestly, look to continue to exert a lot of pressure in BLM's topside jungle here, making sure they got to be really careful about what's going on with this worm, right? As we see 3 members, but we see that the Graves is actually just attacking his blue right now, not on the right side of the map.
Yeah, and this should just look like a free Baron, as Graves is not here to contest. Aurora needs to be really careful in the side lane, though.
Aurora does, but she's able to walk away, and it looks like this dragon, even though Echo's getting involved, I think your smite is here. It's going to be very hard for them to steal it. But we see the bullet time come out, but it's not enough as Kha'Zix is able to get the Drake. But now we see that Rakan gets an excellent engage onto Misfortune, but they forgot about the Shin ultimate, and now it looks like Xerix is in a really bad spot as he gets absolutely blasted. I've changed my mind. It was actually the Echo and the Kha'Zix that fall. But we see Aurora gets a massive domain expansion. It looks like it's going to be a nice, nasty triple for her, especially if she's able to get that W, but she didn't have the reset. and she'll take a double just fine.
Yeah, and overall, it is a positive for BLM to get that shutdown on the MF. That is 1,000 gold into the pocket of their carry. However, they still have 4 people with Baron, and I think BLM actually got really greedy there, walking back up after killing the Kazakhs instead of just taking the free pick, and then they just die to the Aurora TP with the domain expansion. Aurora is
Mm-hmm.
such a powerful pick in those chokes.
Completely agree. And right now, RAR looks to be taking away with this game, right? They're getting the 3-for-1 trades. They took the Baron. They have the really aggressive split pushing and side lane pressure from the Aurora, from the Ornn, who's able to join from a side with his Ram call. But I think right now you're going to be seeing that kind of standard 3-1, 4-1. And it's just going to be really hard for BLM to find these angles back into this game.
Yeah, I think now all BLM can do, because the team fights are so hard, they have to look for these picks, or have to look to punish Kazakhs when he goes for these aggressive jump-ins like that fight right above the Baron wall.
Mm-hmm. But right now, speaking of aggressive, we see a Rogue walks right over, but he's able to get away. And now we see a Woke is able to W away, but we see a lot of skirmish here. Aurora's using the ultimate, and she takes a little bit of time going for it, but she doesn't get that actual double bounce. But we see Xerix is in a good spot. I don't think he has enough damage. And speaking of, we see the Graves ultimate come out. Now, but Rakan, with that Ignite, is able to take the kill on the Echo. So both mid laners end up falling during that exchange.
Echo not respecting the minions in the Ignite. Actually, it wasn't the Ignite, it was just the minion damage.
Was it
And he
just the
didn't ulti.
minions?
Yeah, it was just the Baron minions. He didn't ulti. I guess he just didn't realize how much damage those Baron minions do when there's like 15 of them on him.
Holy smokes, I didn't even know that Chrono Break did not come out, and I guess it really does cost him, right? That was a really nice pick onto the Aurora, and it honestly doesn't end up getting capitalized because you're dead. You aren't going to be able to farm. You aren't going to be able to apply pressure with your team. And now we see Feathers is, speaking of applying pressure, he's going to be able to take that top tier 2 there. And right now, no congestion here as we see that the Xerix and Kazakhs are positioning bot. They're doing a great job of using this Baron menu to their advantage. As we see, Jonakas is taking the tier 2 mid. They are applying so much damage. They're getting so much off this Baron play.
Yeah, I mean, overall, very good Baron play for RAR. Even though Aurora does get caught out, they are still able to get so much pressure on Sidewaves with how powerful
Speaking
these
of
minions.
pressure, we see that the side of BLM, they are not wanting to go down without a fight as Kama's choosing to engage here. They are not able to get a lot going here. As we see, honestly, we see pings from the side of RAR. They're looking at this Elder in 1 minute. And I think right now they're willing to go back, use the fact they have their Baron recalls, get that gold advantage, get it on their pocket, make it so it's liquid, and get that gold to really secure this Elder and probably secure this game.
Yeah, I mean, BLM, the biggest thing they need to do right now is with RAR taking these recalls, they really need to establish some sort of setup so that RAR isn't able to just set up and get this get a really free angle into this Elder. Elder is the game decider here, most likely, as the Elder is just so powerful, especially for a comp with this much burst.
But yeah, we talked about potentially getting caught out here as we see that RAR is positioning very aggressively, using the fact that they have the vision set up early, but that Scryer's Bloom does a good job of making it so RAR doesn't get involved here. But we're seeing some nice poke, especially since RAR is set up so early here. The fact you have this Varus, it's going to be so hard for the side of BLM to get involved. But Xerix gets caught up by the dredge line here as we see that Xerix is getting chased on, but the quickness hits 3. We see Echo is also in a bad spot, but he's able to ulti out. And while Nautilus is able to get his ulti off, Ornn is getting involved. He's able to get a double kill with 1 knockup. As we see, he gets a triple, and he's on the misfortune here, and that is not who you want to be on. Shen went in to try and deal with the other 4, but it's not good enough. And Ornn does an excellent job of making sure that fight is secured for the side. But now we see Kazakhs. Never mind, I'm so sorry. It's the bunny girl is getting involved, making sure that this misfortune dies. Never mind. They did not realize the amount of damage that Rich was going to be able to do. Misfortune is still misfortune at the end of the day. And while Aurora got a little bit handsy, went a little too crazy there, the other 4 members of RAW are going to make sure that that Elder falls.
Yeah, Ornn, the assassin paladin mage tank, is just really strong. I mean, he basically just one-shot their whole backline, and on the side of BM as or BLM, as I mean, the Elder is now picked up for the side of RAR, and unless BLM is able to stall out with the wave clear from MF, I mean, one bad team fight and that's just completely game.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And I mean, it's on the members you want it to be, right? Varus with this Elder Dragon is going to be so nasty, right? These champions are going to be dead in 2 fully charged Varus Qs. And now, speaking of dead, we see that Kazakhs is making sure he has control of this jungle, and I think that Graves really does a good job of backing out. I thought that Graves was dead on my screen.
Yeah, I think that Shaco is just really respecting the fact that Graves is walking up. He didn't know where the enemy team was. He didn't want to get picked off with the Elder.
Hmm. Completely agree. And now they're choosing to, like we said earlier with the Baron, with the Purple Man, they're using the fact now that they have Elder up to their advantage. Is now we're seeing, unfortunately, they're having to use bullet time to get the wave clear. So that really makes it so that the threat of taking these champs out is not going to be there. And I think right now, RAR is just in so much control.
Yeah, I mean, Rari's in so much control, but actually, I do think that bullet time was really, really solid by the MF, just making it so that they can't use that Elder to try to look for the pick, and then they're just going to look to have to transition the Elder into Baron, which does give them a really good stall time, even though Baron is really deadly because BLM doesn't have the wave clear. At least they won't have to be dealing with the Elder that much longer.
I agree, but I mean, you guys still got to think about this. Baron is potentially, it's just going to be gone, right? There's no way you can contest, especially when this team has Elder Drake at their disposal, right? We still see Graves. He's trying to fight the Scuttle down bot, and he's honestly just positioning aggressively with that Shin. But we see just there's not a lot of response. There's not a lot of action taken on the other side here, trying to find those inches for BLM. It's not happening right now.
Yeah, and so the biggest thing is that BLM really does not have good wave clear. I mean, they have the MF, who's not the greatest wave clear ADC, and just without her ultimate, and she really does not want to be like just using her ulti on cooldown, especially with how strong she is. She is the saving grace of BLM right now. And this Baron, it could be potentially game ending if they're not if RAR plays it right and gets these waves set up so that they can just take towers.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, speaking of game saving, we talked about that ulti not being good, but it's right back up. So never mind, it ended up being a pretty decent trade here. As now we're seeing really aggressive positioning here from the side of RAR. They're using that Baron cannon to get to advantage here. And I think right now, BLM might be getting a little antsy, getting desperate. As my supporter always says, we might be bleeding right now. You got to be cautious. And speaking of cautious, we see that Kama's getting a really aggressive trade onto Feathers, but that guy is taking absolutely no damage at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the MF is really the only one who can damage this Ornn. This Ornn's so strong right now. I mean, he can just basically walk up and just do they're just tickling him. It feels like.
And speaking of walking up, that taunt goes wide a little bit. It was very close to landing, but I still don't think they had enough damage. As we see, RAR is just doing an excellent job of playing it slow, using the fact they got the busted minions, and are just absolutely wailing on this base.
Yeah, and this could be potentially game ending as I don't think that BLM really has the wave clear.
Yeah, they do not. And while they're going to be able to stack these two waves, I think two waves is going to be enough. They don't even need to go for that bot tower, as it's going to be really tough here. We see the Varus poke coming out. It's a lot. And
BLM
they,
really needs to make a play now before these minions hit, or else I don't think they'll be able to stop the siege.
I completely agree. I think Cristobal really needs to look for a really cheeky hook, and we see it coming out on the woke. He's not able to get the initial root off, but now we see they're doing a great job of stalling it out. Bullet time hits a lot, but I don't think it's enough. As we see, Xerxes does a great job of stopping it with the quickness. Shin is low on the back, but now we see that on the bottom, we see Echo's done. He's not able to get those kills off, and while they're able to pick up Shaco, which is a good pick, Awoke is able to get two, and there's only one member, Shin, and I do not think he's gonna have enough damage here to stop this, and this looks like it's gonna be curtains for BLM, as RAR are gonna be advancing in this series 1-0.
Yeah, overall, really solid game from RAR. They were actually, I was really impressed with how methodical they played. They were not making a lot of aggressive mistakes, and they were just looking for really good macro, getting all the objectives, and just looking to bleed out BM.
Mm-hmm. And while we talked about potential damage here, I know some people in the chat might not see it, but I still see a lot of damage coming out from that Varus, right? Those extended fights where he's able to get those Qs off did so much work. But I will say, I think the MVPs of that game are, I would say, Shaco. Shaco did an excellent job of getting involved, making sure that he was able to get these picks off, right? Not letting this Misfortune breathe at all. And like just able to apply so much damage, so much pressure, making it so none of the laners are able to feel safe at all.
Yeah,
And it's
I
good.
do. I do want to quickly shout out as well, Xerix. I think that Xerix did a really good job of getting that vision control and just looking to set up those engages as soon as the vision. As soon as they show on vision, Xerix was going and setting up those plays, stopping the MF from being able to play the game, which set up Shaco to be able to clean up easy kills.
Oh, 100%. I completely overlooked the fact that that guy did absolutely fantastic, right? He was able to get those engages that you were talking about, especially into what we consider a counter pick matchup, right? Nautilus is usually supposed to do super, super well into the Recon, but Xerxes did an absolute masterclass. I've seen it in the games before. I think this is the player to watch out for. And I think, honestly, RAWR does an excellent job of making sure that he's getting involved.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about prior to the game. Even though the Nautilus is really strong in lane into the Varus Rakan, if Rakan's able to get those skirmishes where he's able to get those engages first and get onto the backline, it makes it even though Nautilus does have in theory the stronger engage, the harder CC. It doesn't really matter if the Rakan is able to get those big AOE knockups.
Completely agree. And another player I want to talk about, I keep highlighting like honestly all of these players is Feathers, right? He got put on the weak side top lane. He got put on Ornn, which is usually a champ that's going to get counterpicked, right? And from the side of BLM, they chose to go with Shin. And Ornn, he was able to absolutely run away with that, right? He was 6-0-5 at the end of that game. I think even potentially even more. He did not die. He did double kill. He was the paladin. He was the mage. He was the marksman. He did it all. And he did an excellent job of being that Brock for his squad.
Yeah, I mean the Shen pick was actually a very interesting pick. I do understand it with the Kha'Zix, with the Aurora wanting to peel out the MF, but because of that, Ornn just completely outscales Shen and is just able to basically take over top lane. I mean, there's nothing really happening, but that favors the Ornn. Is like one of the hardest scaling champions with his passive, because as he gets more of the ornaments onto his teammates, the stronger he becomes.
I mean, I completely agree. We talk about the top, the jungle support. They were able to enable their team, right? They were able to enable a woke to lay down the domain expansions, right? He might have gone a little crazy sometimes going for those kills, but he still got it done. He set his team up for success, and you get so much value out of that Aurora ulti. It's my favorite champ right now, and it's so fun to watch. And I think he did an excellent job piloting it. And it also just let Jonicus. He didn't die either. Just able to get those long range Qs that we're talking about. Bang, bang, bang. It's over, right? He's going to do too much damage, and they did too much damage. And I think that is just exactly what you want to see from RAR, and I'm hoping they're going to be able to see that in this next upcoming series.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think RAR did an excellent job just playing their comp perfectly. Xerxes understanding that he does not need to make any plays bot lane. He just needs to neutralize the Nautilus and then just look for the plays in the skirmishes with Kha'Zix, completely enabling Shaco. However, moving forward with BLM, what do you think their adaptation should be for this game?
To be honest, I think top lane you need a stronger counter pick, right? I know I mentioned it earlier. Ornn is a champion that is able to be blinded, but I think there are so many champs that you can at least milk a little bit of advantage out, right? You're able to get that gold advantage. Looking for champs like the Camille, look for these bruisers, maybe Fiora, just getting something where you have an advantage on the map. Because realistically, Kama was where that advantage was supposed to be, right? Echo is a very good matchup into the Aurora, but when you have Xerxes coming up, right, you have all of these players getting involved in mid lane, it's going to be tough. So I think you need to look to try to find maybe two, or at least you need one really solid winning matchup to be able to take the series home.
Yeah, and I do think that BLM does need when they're playing those strong side bot lanes, they need to be playing harder for the MF, get the MF as ahead as possible because this Rakan is just going to be a complete problem on the map. And honestly, moving into game two, I wouldn't be surprised if BLM looks to ban out Xerxes as he was a complete problem on the Rakan. Rakan getting so much value.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of banouts, do you think there are any champs like we talked about? I know we saw the Varus misfortune traded. Do you think there's going to be anything changed, right? Any of these bans that are going to be dropped? We're going to be seeing some of the champs from this game getting banned in because I realistically do think at the end of the day this had some draft instances, but I think both sides their draft was relatively solid.
Yeah, I think that BLM's probably going to look to play for something a little bit different. They're probably going to look for stronger team fights because I do think the way this team likes to play, they don't like to back down on these objectives. And I think that was their kind of kryptonite night here is they weren't really playing a comp that is super cohesive and easy to play in team fights. I also think that the top lane pick is probably going to change if they look for the Ornn again, as I do think that the Shen just not really getting enough value, even though he had really good ultis. The Ornn was just had
100%.
so much more utility. Um, I also do think that maybe they drop the Urgot for the Rakan or the Varus ban because Varus is just so strong right now, and because And because of how strong Varus is, it's just I think that Varus getting taken away could be a really good answer here.
Completely agree. And now I have two updates for the viewers at home, right? Braum is choosing to elect to stay on red side here. They might be able to, like we talked about, go for that R5 pick. But we also see a new member, Stoic, is choosing to fill back in here, as I believe he's a sub 80 carry for the side of BLM. I apologize, but I'm just sinking here, sitting out, and I'm just talking to our producers, guys. Don't mind me, I'm being a silly goose. But we see that Stoic is here, and we're going to see if that change in the 80 carry role is going to be enough for BLM to take this home.
Yeah, interesting decision by BLM because I did feel like Drakenrich was probably doing really well that game.
Well,
He did.
it looks like Drakenrich. I didn't want to interrupt, but it looks like he's now moving up to jungle here. So it looks like Stealthy is the one who's going to be taking the back seat, as Drakenrich is still involved in the game. But
Yeah, and Drakenrich is a jungle main, so I'm very curious to see. I mean, he does seem like he's a very solid player. I'm very interested to see if he's able to take a lot more of a strong stand against Shaco.
mm-hmm. I agree here, and I think right now we're going to be looking get involved in this. I think Stoic, I've seen it earlier. That guy is a very good engage AD carry, right? He's shown a lot of games on the Kaisa, a lot of games on the Samira, a lot of games on the Neela, right? He's going to want to get involved. He's going to want to get dirty. And right now, while it isn't, Cristobal was not the support that he played with when they were able to win. They were playing these really good engage comps. Neela Alistar, Neela Alistar. They played it constantly. So I think that could be something that they look for, and I think it's something that RAWR needs to be cautious of, especially in these picks.
Yes, most definitely, they're gonna have to be looking for these strong picks.
Mm-hmm. You see. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to see. I think there are gonna be very similar drafts for both teams, or at least from the band side. I don't see I know I mentioned it, but I kind of don't see any of the bands changing. I think it could go either way. To be honest, I think that the Azir is a lock, the Urgot is a lock, and potentially that Zyra as well for the side of RAWR. So I think it's really up to Braum, Braum Lives Matter, if they want to change up how these bands are going to go. But yeah, looking here forward, I think it's going to be those picks. Ted, I don't know if you feel the same way, but now we're hopping back into draft. So where do you think this draft's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that BLM not wanting to take the blue side means that they're probably going to look to elect for a pretty similar draft, but maybe just adapt a little bit. Maybe look for a bit better of a balling matchup, or looking to try to play more of a team fight comp.
100% agree. As we're seeing four bands that were the exact same from those first three, right? The Anivia, the Nocturne, from the side of RAWR, and that Zyra for Xerix, and then Awoke, the Azir Prodigy, gets banned. But now we see Leona for the side RAWR. I'm pretty sure that is a very similar band, if not the exact
Yeah,
same band from last
yeah.
time.
RAR not changing up anything, which makes sense. I mean, the game was a very solid game from them. As let's see if Braum changes. Oh, they're actually going to ban the
Choosing to
Aurora.
Actually, I think that is a very, very solid ban, right? When we have seen Awoke get that Azir band, he is very prone to only picking the Aurora. So I think they're trying to limit and trying to attack Awoke's champ pool here. So we're going to have to see what he comes up with next and what's in that back pocket for him.
Yeah, and I imagine they're probably going to do the MF into the Varus. MF is like a pretty solid answer right now into the Varus, but I'm curious to see what they end up electing to do to try to stop this Varus.
But we don't see that Misfortune picked immediately. It still could come out on this R2, but they're choosing to early pick this Rel. I think it's a very solid champion. It has so much threat on that engage. And Ted, I know you're a big fan of it as well, right?
Yeah, I mean the only concern I really have is that Xerix is the Poppy enthusiast, and I feel like if they go the Poppy,
Ooh,
it could be a bit of a issue
you are
for the
so.
Rel.
And that hasn't been banned either. But we're seeing Lux actually come out really early. I think, yep, Poppy. Great call there, Ted. I completely forgot about it. And yeah, they're going to absolutely abuse the fact that this Rel's picked this early.
Yeah, and then the Lux being selected for what I believe is mid lane is a quite a interesting blind, especially with picking the Rel early. I expected if they wanted to do the Lux, maybe picking it as a flex could have been a good option. MF is still on the table for this third pick. I wonder what they're looking for with this R3 and late ADC pick, even though Varus is showing.
And I'm very actually surprised to see that the Oriana is what comes out. I, as an Oriana fan, am usually not happy to play into Lux. I think you get a lot of late game pressure in these team fights, but the lane itself is pretty tough. Lux outranges you really hard. She's able to poke you down. But on the other side, we see Samira comes out, very good combo with this Rel. And they're actually choosing not to include Miss Fortune at all.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. Poppy is notoriously good into the Samira, but maybe just Samira is looking to play slow out on the Arel engage, wait out the Poppy W, and then look to go in. Very aggressive bot lane from BLM. As I do agree that the Oriana is pretty scary, but they could be looking to combo with a very aggressive jungler.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of aggressive jungler, that Kha'Zix is not coming back, right? Mr. Bug is gone as they are choosing to respect Shaco's pool, right? We saw a masterful class there, and we also see the Urgot come out as a ban. So honestly, I think that Braum Lives Matter did an excellent job of adapting to the bans, choosing to ban that Aurora later, make sure that they aren't going to pick it early and get all that they want. But on the other side, we see the Ken and the Shen. We see both those top laners are banned and make sure they're not coming back here.
Yeah, and the Shen ban is quite strong with the fact that they were looking for the Poppy Oriana combo or the Varus pick. Shen stopping a lot of that pressure could be very strong.
Speaking of somewhat strong, I think very strong in the right hands. Trundle's coming out, right? My top laner's a big enthusiast of it, but technically it does have the opportunity to still be a flex between jungle and top. I think right now it has priority in the top lane, because I think it is stronger there, but still, I think it's very good, and it honestly works pretty well with this Rel and Samira to get involved. But honestly, not having a tank on the side of RAR could mean that this pick could get in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and the Trundle actually being picked as a flex makes it so that RAR has a hard time picking a bruiser as tank, as Udyr is also locked in. This could be a flex, but I imagine with how strong it is in the jungle right now, it's probably a jungle pick.
Hmm. Completely agree. And speaking of a champ that can show up either top lane or jungle, we see Udyr come out. Right, very solid, honestly, with the Oriana, just giving her somebody to put the ball on and just let him go in, right? Give him the speed he needs, he's going to speed in. And we see Mundo come out, which I'm actually very, very surprised by. This leaves that Trundle to potentially go top lane and shred through this guy, this big, beefy man.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting. Mundo's still a pretty strong top laner, but Trundle, I'm not exactly sure about the matchup, but I imagine he just kind of stat checks the
Mhm.
Mundo and can just kind of take towers in his face.
Yes, I completely agree. And while Mundo does have excellent scaling, I think that the Trundle, if you want a tank shredder, but never mind, they're choosing to elect to have Trundle in the jungle, but that's still an excellent pick into the Mundo, right? That Mordekaiser, he's known to be that juggernaut who's going to shred through these tanks.
Yeah, I mean Mordekaiser is such a strong champion, especially with the fact that RAR is looking for what looks like the Udyr or the Poppy running at their team, and then looking for the Oriole. Also, Mordekaiser does stop a lot of Udyr's fun time of just like running at his team, or Mundo just running at the Samira Lux.
Hmm. I agree, and I'm kind of surprised and interested in how Braum Lives Matters comp is going to play out. On the one hand, you have the Samir and Rel who are excellent at getting in, getting involved, getting in their face, but you also have a Lux, right? A Lux who's trying to kind of sit kind of out of vision, right? Make sure she's going to be able to cast her spells without anybody getting in her face. And you have a Mordekaiser who's going to be taking away some of the priority targets from the Samira. I think it's going to be interesting, and they're really going to have to, I guess, step out of their comfort zone if they're going to be able to want to win this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think what Braum Lives Matter is looking for is they're looking for the Lux burst on the Rel ulti to
Mm,
try to get these champions low for the Samira to get the cleanup with the resets on her E and her ult. Trundle, I think, is just a overall like champion to just try to stop the Mundo and Udyr. And I actually think Mordekaiser, even though he has such free targets with Varus with Oriana, I do think he's actually going to look to elect to take one of the tanks out, let
mm.
Samira be able to get on the back line without having a lot of peel, maybe even taking away the Poppy W.
I completely agree. Honestly, now that you're saying that, you're starting to make a little bit sense for me, Dira. I think I do. Now that I'm looking at it, I think Mordekaiser gets so much value right into three tanks: the Mundo, the Udyr, and the Poppy. I think if this guy doesn't get shut down, he's going to be an absolute beast, and the Iron Revenant is going to be an absolute problem for everybody.
Yeah, and then on the side of RAR, I mean, they just have a overall like a pretty solid team fight comp. I mean, if they're able to get into team fights with a lead, I feel like it's just going to be really hard for Samira Lux to burn through these tanks. Their real tank damage is going to come from Mordekaiser Trundle, and Mordekaiser may just be forced to stay on side lane by the Mundo. Mundo's such a powerful split pusher, especially
100%.
once he scales. It might they RAR might be just be looking to play a 4-1 comp and just force Mordekaiser out, and then let Udyr and Poppy just kind of really hurt the fact that Samira Lux, they are not known for their tank shedding abilities. It's going to be all on that Trundle, and also
Completely.
yeah, and then
Complete.
Trundle as well, just also kind of hard to engage with.
Hmm. I think, yeah, like you said, I think that engage really only lies on Rel. And I think the fact that Poppy is there, it's going to be hard for her, Rel to find these engages here. Poppy does an excellent job of shutting it down. Also, the Samira as well. I'm surprised that the Samira came out in response to the Poppy. Maybe, like we said, Stoic is very, very prone to play these kind of like battle lady carries, right? Get involved, get up close, and get up and personal. So I think that could be the angle they're going for, and they're willing to go, hey, we're going to play it even if it isn't the ideal matchup for us.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is going to be that if RAR misstep, if they take a bad fight, I mean Samira can punish that and just get these resets, get really fed, and just completely take over the game. But in lane, I just don't know what Samira Rel are gonna do. Varus outranges and pokes the Samira, and Poppy makes it so hard for the Rel to play.
And like I said, I think it's honestly it's gonna have to be you're gonna have to play through top, right? Mordekaiser's your guy. He's gonna be able to do a lot of damage. He's gonna be able to apply a lot of burn to these tanks. And I think it's gonna be a battle between the Iron Revenant and kind of Varus, who's gonna be able to really carry these fights home. But we're gonna have to see, as we're gonna potentially go to break and get ready for you guys when it comes game time.
Apps here, and with this comp and tries to tie up the series, as RAR is currently 1-0 and is on match point, and so this game is a really important one for BLM to take.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And we'll be right back after our spectator delay. We'll get into the action.
making me strong. Now I wanna show I can hold my own. See how much I've grown. Better off alone, baby. I'm halfway out, just trying to lose you now. Yeah, it was an illusion now. Yeah, I just wanna see you out. To give it up, leaving all your texts on red. Read the games you left now. Give it up, sick of all the things you said, getting in my head now. So I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know where you go. I don't wanna know. Yeah, it was an illusion now. You're leaving all the doors like that. Yeah, I don't wanna know. Yeah, I don't wanna know.
shots with a broken spleen, yeah. I'm blessed with the mess you leave, yeah. It's hard to stop in me, yeah. So I don't wanna know the things that you left in my brain, starting to love again. I only put it away, not even back in my face. I'm done with all that you can say, so leave me alone, 'cause I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know where you go. I don't wanna know. Yeah, it was an illusion now. You're leaving all the doors locked out. And I don't wanna know. Yeah, I don't wanna know. So I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know where you go. I don't wanna know.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 in this excellent series between RAWR and BLM. RAWR is up 1-0 right now, but BLM is choosing to fight back, right? They got this interesting team comp with the Rel Samira into the Poppy. It might be tough, but they have the engage. They might know more than we do.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think BLM may have just look for comfort. I mean, the Lux picked really early may just be a really powerful pick for Kama, as well as the Samira Rel. Even though they are in an unfavorable matchup, if they're able to get a lead, they can really take over Samira, one of the hardest snowballing champions in the game.
No, for sure. But honestly, talking about that little lead there, we see Orion is able to get her ward on Raptors, so we're going to be able to see where this Trundle is going to start, where he's going to go. And right now, they're probably going to be like, hey, we see he hasn't shown bot side, but also, we looked at the fact that RAR did an excellent job of making sure to get through, but they didn't realize a ward was hanging out with him. So we actually see a leash coming out from the side of BLM.
Yeah, really good early ward by Stoic, catching out that cheese that RAR is so prone to doing. We've seen them do it so often.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And now, honestly, with the fact that we see that ward topside, especially with Mundo getting another ward on that Raptor entrance, I think Trundle is absolutely exposed and he is in the headlights as they know where he is. But this Udyr, he's probably in the dark right now. But
Oh, and it
actually,
looks like
speaking
they're
of
level 2ing bot.
engage, yeah, we see Trundle. They know. They saw that they walked over, and Trundle is here. He's trying to be involved, but now we see Poppy probably doesn't have her steadfast presence, and now Jonicus is in a bad spot, but Poppy is choosing to re-engage there as we see action. We unfortunately, as I see my stream, unfortunately cut out. I'm trying to reconnect. And we unfortunately missed that level 1 there. That is completely interesting.
We got ganked by Riot,
I
unfortunately.
apparently got
too
ganked by
hyped.
Riot. I apologize, everybody, as I'm not able to see that action. Hopefully our
As it looks like I have lost my co-caster as I'm looking to get this
Mhm.
apologies, viewers. It seems like Riot is really trying to stop us with seeing the hype of this awesome game. As soon as we look for the level 2, it seems like Riot has ganked the stream.
Riot. I hate you, Riot. But yes, we're doing a great job of trying to get back involved, make sure we're synced up with our production team here, as we're trying to clear out. Going to 3. All right, and I am at 3. All right, back into the action here, hopefully.
Yeah,
Right.
unfortunately, we weren't able to see what happened in that level 1, but it seems like BLM is at a huge binding from Luck.
And we see that huge binding from Lux ends up being a flash out from Shaco. And we see, honestly, Shaco's the only one who loses that summoners there. That is not what you want to be seeing, right? Shaco tried to go for that initial engage. Now we will have to see some aggressive trading there from the side of the bot lane.
And apologies, Jim. It seems like we're having issues with the spectator on the production side now, as we're trying to get that fixed. As we do know that BLM is up 1 kill, and that flash on Udyr. It's a very strong early lead for BLM.
Mm-hmm. What time? 4:01. Perfect. Okay, I'm at 4:01. 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Okay. Oh my goodness. There's been a whole lot of shenanigans here, both on our sides, right? Riot's attacking us. We're trying to get it all synced up, but I think we're back in. We're back into the action here. As now we've seen 1 kill, like we talked about that early skirmish. The fact that they spotted him out, it was a very good trade for the Trundle, as he's able to pick up the kill there. And he's able to get a really good lead on this Udyr, especially having to flash out on that early mid-game play. That's not what you want to be seeing here if you're
Yeah,
RAWR to
having
start this off.
having no flash on that Udyr is very scary for the Udyr. I mean, the Udyr flash so important for these early ganks, as Udyr is probably not going to really able to do much unless Trundle is known to not be there.
But right now, Cristobal might not realize it as we see Shaco gets a really good engage here. She's able to get that W out, but now we see another unfortunate crash on my end here.
And unfortunately, every single time there's a very action-packed moment. It seems like Riot really does not want us to see, as the game is just too hype for our eyes to watch.
Man, those are always the worst games when the game decides to attack you. What time are you at? Okay, I'm back in. 6:05. Okay. My game crashed again. Okay. Fortunately, guys, since this is happening, we're going to go on a quick break to make sure we get this sorted out and make sure that we're not having this unfortunate buffering happen for you guys. So we'll be right back when we get this solved.
So I don't wanna know.
Don't forget about me and all the things I could give to you, baby. But I guess you can't see, making new memories with me. Oh, yeah, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Oh, yeah, I'm good either way. I'm good either way. What happened to forever? Now we're not together. I know it's time you probably need a break to see if you
Bite dust. Bite dust.
Back into the action, as we've had some technical difficulties, but now we see this game. Honestly, there's a lot of kills on the board, but it's still pretty even in gold. As right now, RAWR is only up to 200 or gold on their side, so it's not the end of the world. We didn't miss too much, but we've seen a lot of skirmishes here. And speaking of skirmishes, we see that Mordekaiser grabs feathers here, and we're seeing a lot of trading onto this Mundo. It's very, very aggressive here as Rel's choosing to go and landing the two-man W. But Mordekaiser is taking out this Udyr, and he's going to be able to finish off the job. But Xerix flashing in, now flashing out. Awoke is able to get that kill with the Q and the W. But now we see massive, massive beam of light there from Lux as she's able to pick up two. And this is an absolutely excellent fight from the side of BLM as Xerix is having to run for his life.
Yeah, and we just see the power of the fact that even though on paper RAR's comp is very strong, I mean they do have really good pick. I mean the Mordekaiser ulti was absolutely massive, making that fight a 3v3 rather than a 4v4 really favors BLM, and the huge binding from Kama. This it feels like a really big comfort pick as Kama feels so strong on it. Just is making absolutely a ton of work happen for the side of BLM.
And I mean, we talk about the pressure of that lane, right? But now, speaking of pressure, as Draken is on to Shaco right now, he's using the fact he's a tank shredder, right? He is munching away, hitting his club. But right now, Shaco's has the backup of Mr. Moneyman, so he's going to walk out. But speaking of backup, Awoke is in a lot of trouble here as that shockwave unfortunately goes wide as it looked like it was going to hit, and Kama's able to auto that Orianna down to death.
Yeah, Kama again just being a really big problem as this looks, being up 2 kills, and just being overall up also almost 40 CS. Just super strong champion. I mean, you were talking about this earlier. The Orianna having a lot less range than the Lux means that if the Lux is able to get her abilities down, Ori is really punished.
Completely agree. And right now, I think the bright side for RAR is this Varus is still in a very good spot, right? He's up 200 gold, and he also has the range on this Samira. And with the Poppy backing him up with that steadfast presence, it's going to be tough. But we talked about it early. These solo lanes from the side of BLM are gaining this advantage here. They have this counter pick matchup that they really wanted. And right now, BLM is using that to its fullest.
Yeah, I mean, BLM definitely playing these fights really solidly. However, this Varus being ahead does mean that if BLM oversteps, they can punish this Samira, as RAR's support is actually really ahead with the 3 kills on the Poppy. Poppy are can do so much damage, especially into the Samira Rel.
And especially with the Swifties, right? She has gotten involved all across this map. It wasn't seen earlier, but Xerix has roamed all over this place, right? Using the fact that she has an Orianna to back her up. This Poppy's gonna get involved, and they're doing an excellent job. As this is honestly his pocket pick. And right now, we see 3 members of RAR are posturing very aggressively in the jungle, and they might find the Troll King to counter it out here. As we see Poppy is able to go in here. The E does not land the stun, but we see the Shockwave comboing off of the Poppy here. As Trundle is forced to flash out, but Poppy is charging up her ultimate, landing on the Rel, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to find anything as they're fighting in a really awkward spot as that tower is backing them up. And right now, it ends up being just some ultis traded.
Yeah, but again, RAR with the really good setup on this objective now, as BLM's going to have a really hard time walking in, and especially with the fact that they do have the Varus ultis still available on the side of RAR.
I want to highlight the amount of coordination I've seen from this RAW roster, right? They do an excellent job of getting involved. But speaking of getting involved, even though it was around that Drake vision, this Shaco fella is doing a great job of making sure that Kama isn't going to be able to get this free lane that she wanted. But right now, Shaco is still in there. Kama did not realize that that Shaco did not leave, as Udyr is getting a lot of damage off with the Phoenix Dance, but Trundle is here as well, as he's able to land the pillar. But we see that the knockup does not hit onto the pillar. And we see a lot of continued fights. And unfortunately, well, we're doing our best as my game unfortunately crashed as well, so we're not able to see the end of that fight. Riot, I'm gonna have to talk to you after this game. We have some beef.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Riot really doesn't want us to see the crucial parts of this game. As every single time we have something really hype going on, it seems like decides to gank the stream.
Man. And right now, unfortunately, we're going to go back on break.
Bite dust. If you must. If you must. Bite dust. If you must. Dust. If you must. Bite dust. If you must. If you must. If you must. Bite dust.
hopping in hopefully for the last time is what we're hoping is going to be fixing this issue. We've talked to some of these other organizations to see if it is a issue on Riot's side. It appears to be an issue with this lobby specifically. So while we are going to try and make sure that this stays up to date, there is a chance that crashes could be happening, but we're going to try and make sure that doesn't happen now. But now we're seeing some aggressive trading here from Shaco, as Xerix is an excellent flash E, but she's not able to land the stun off, as Cristobal is potentially going to be able to walk this out, but she doesn't have the remount ready to go, and Cristobal falls, and that's an excellent play there from the side of RAWR.
Yeah, again, Cristobal just caught getting visioned by herself. Excellent punish from RAWR as Xerix is going in.
Speaking of punish, Xerix does a good job of finding the Samira here, and Samira's forced to flash out, but when we see the Mordekaiser is getting involved, Tiny Fists of Fury is getting involved, but now we see a TP on the backside, and we see another crash. Oh my goodness, Riot. Oh, that's...
Yeah, unfortunately, Riot is the bane of this game, as we can't watch this action-packed game.
I'd like to see potentially if we can get back involved here. Trying to find... Not want to see the sins that are committed in this game, as we're trying to reconnect and get back involved, but nothing seems to be working right now.
Yeah, really unfortunate that we're not really able to see what's going on in this game. But we're gonna keep troubleshooting for you guys, as we really want to make sure that we can catch as much of this game as possible.
And we're gonna do our job here. We're gonna make sure, see if we get back involved. I do have access to the game again, but I don't know when it's gonna cut out. Sitting in around 22, 18 at the moment, but we might go on break to make sure that me and the production are on the same sync here. So we will be right back with that.
We're doing alright. When we are apart, we always do the same dance. Always on the fence, never making sense. I'm not gonna feel a thing tonight. I'm not gonna be the one tonight. Don't wanna hear anything that you say. Your love is a game that I don't.
And welcome back, everybody, for hopefully the last time. We potentially got the solution sorted out as we bring in another one of our producers to have the feed up. That hasn't been having issues with them. So even though we're 25 minutes into this game, it's a banger one. We still have a gold lead, only 2K up, so this game is still anybody's.
Yeah, I mean, almost 40 kills in 25 minutes. This game has definitely been a really bloody one.
Mm-hmm. But now we see, I know we talked about the advantage of vision and kind of, but we're seeing right now, BLM is doing an excellent job of kind of prioritizing and getting that vision involved, especially around that Baron. As we see that they're not in that bad of a spot as compared to last time, but we see Xerix is actually looking to, he pinged the Lux, but choosing to walk away. The Trundle King is in the area. So Poppy's just choosing to walk it out. Walk with speed, but now she's running into these people. She's getting involved. She's showing everybody that she's here.
Yeah, and I think a big part of BLM's comp right now is just making sure
And
that
speaking of getting involved, we see the Poppy combo get around. We see the Oriana Shockwave. Crystal Ball is getting caught out again, very similar to the last time we got involved. But now cutting up to the top side, Shaco choosing to blast paint away, but Lux is trying to follow on the tail. But Udyr, he's fast, he's mean, and he's got a lot of problems. And this is not one of them, as he's able to walk it out.
yeah, as I think BLM's main factor now is this Lux.
But now looking for another aggressive engage. I know I keep cutting you off, Ted, but now we see that it cuts out again. But looking to potentially see on the side of Vish if we are still up.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Hi,
unfortunately,
viewers.
hey guys. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think at this point we're probably going to have to call it. It seems like we're unfortunately running into so many issues here. They're also going to be close to finishing out this game, and I'm so sorry, guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 8:20. All right. Unfortunately, we're going to have to call it here. If we get back into game 3, we're going to see the results of this, trying to keep you guys updated, but we're going to go on break and we're going to call it for now on this game. We will hopefully be back with good news and potentially a game 3 to finish this night off.
Don't wanna play, so don't say you need me when I walk away. So many words, but they don't mean a thing. You blur the lines between love and obscene. So don't say you need me, cause we're not a thing. We're not a thing. I'm doing alright. Since we are apart, you know it's always the heart first. Don't care if it hurts, you're making it worse. I'm not gonna feel a thing tonight. Not gonna feel a thing. I'm not gonna see your face tonight. Not gonna see your face. Don't wanna hear anything that you say. Your love is a game that I don't wanna play. So cry all you want, but I still walk away. Cry all you want, but I still walk away. So many words, but you don't mean a thing. You blur the lines between love and obscene. So don't say you love me, cause it's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Welcome back, guys. We did find out the end result of that match. Drum roll, please, everybody, as we got some good news and bad news. The good news is BLM ended up winning winning the game, not the series. So we get to go to game 3. Unfortunately for RAR, that means they're gonna have to fight, and they're gonna have to stay up a little bit longer to make sure that they can take this home. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's quite interesting. I mean we were definitely like not so sure about the comp, but I mean BLM showed that they can play it. Especially I want to just talk about the fact that the Kama Lux was an
oh,
absolute monster in this game.
apparently, if that is true, what I've heard, they are apparently finding out that it is a bug with a specific champion. And they're saying that it is a Samira bug by itself, which is very surprising. I would not have expected that at all. So if that is the case, we might be seeing a potential global ban, at least for the series, on that champion to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and hopefully it's just that champion and we do not have any issues going into game 3. Um, but Badger, what's your read of how RAR's gonna bounce back or BLM's gonna look to take the rest of the series?
I think with the fact that that Samira champ is gone, right? That is it seemed to be one of Stoic's stronger champions. It does appear that that will have an effect. But I think with the fact, I'm so sorry. I'm still honestly just mind boggled by the fact that that was the issue. I thought it was completely like on us, but no, it's the champ. But I think you're gonna have to be really cautious with your solo laners and what you're gonna be willing to pick, right? I think that BLM saw the potential issue with the Wokes champ pool, right? He has the Azir, he has the Aurora, but then he had to go into his reserves, right, really far back, picking that Orianna. And Kama did a great job of bringing out that Lux, a really good counterpick matchup, and they absolutely ran away with that game because of it.
Yeah, I definitely think Hama's Lux was the strong champion in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they look to elect to ban the Lux over something like the Anivia, especially since a lot of the pool coming out from Awoke without the Azir seems like it's very short range and can be punished by the Lux.
And now we're seeing a bit of issues here as they're saying instead of being streamed, they'd rather keep the champion, but I don't know realistically how if that is going to be the case, as we do want to still be able to show this to the rest of the audience. It's going to be up to them if they decide that Samira is valuable, but they can honestly still choose to use it as one of those bans as well. I think in the best case, it's going to be just considered a global ban for both sides, but that is a disadvantage for the side of BLM.
Yeah, and as we wait for the decision from the two teams on what they would like to do, I did want to briefly talk about. Did you think that? Do you think what do you which side do you think that that RAR is going to prioritize? As it looks like it's red. So what do you think that means in terms of draft?
I mean, I think we talked about it, right? Saving these counter picks for your solo laners seems to be the way that it's going to go. Like I said, that Mordekaiser took over that game. The Lux took over that game. I think if you save these counter picks, especially when these 80 carries are kind of just trading these strong champs. Usually, I would expect the Varus and Misfortune, but maybe they choose to go with Samira. So, we're gonna have to see how it ends up going, as they're still trying to debate if they're willing to just go with the Samira ban globally or if they're wanting to stay in. So what it looks like, apparently, is they're choosing to keep Samira up, which I'm very, very surprised about. So then that would make it so we are not able to spectate this match. But we'll have to see. We're still having to like kind of like reading these chat logs between the two teams, trying to figure out what we're going to decide. But still, I would be rather surprised if we choose to not end up streaming this match.
Yeah, as RAR is currently deciding whether they want to use one of their bands for the Samira and keep the stream, or if they just want to play this game offline with the normal bands and just trying to see if they want to what they want to do.
What I'm surprised by is why is it I'm surprised they're saying that the side of RAR needs to ban Samira, when I would honestly assume that it could be considered a global ban, and that it
Uh
is not needed for this ban. They're saying that now RAWR has to ban the Samira, which I'm very surprised about. Yeah, of course. Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right. And did they hear that, or should I relay that information still? Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to relay what our producer said. So, how this is going to end up going is because Samira was very advantageous for the side of BLM, they want to continue to have it in the game. But for RAR, they're realizing, hey, it's going to be either we have Samira banned completely on our side, or we choose to go no stream. And RAR has elected to make it one of their 3 bans to make it so that we can keep this game live and so that we can keep watching it. So I guess we know one of the bans from the side of RAR, as it's going to potentially be a bit of a hit. But that is interesting that ends up being the case, and we might look to see that it ends up being a global ban moving forward in these next couple of weeks. Really? Mm-hmm. That really hurts my team, man. Shout out to Dog Davis. He's probably going to be crying, but I don't know.
Hopefully, the bug will be taken away prior to the Doc Davis special.
Mm-hmm. Dog Davis special before, but now it looks like we're finally getting back into draft after all of these shenanigans, right? This Samaritan champion actually ruining the game, making it so. But but still, I also shout out to RAR for being willing to naturally ban the champ instead of a global ban. That's big ups to you guys, and we really appreciate that. But it does put in effect as they're now choosing to let the Leona up, but we're actually seeing a Mordekaiser first pick from the side of BLM, which is not what I was expecting. Now, I mean, we see that Mordekaiser come out first, right? I guess it worked for them, especially. But I think, like I said, top lane picks this early have the opportunity to get counterpicked super, super hard. But we'll have to see what that response is. You see champs like Olaf, even with the fact that he can't R out, but RAR doing a great job. They say, hey, we're gonna keep Jonicus. You've done great on Varus 2 games in a row. You're gonna play the 3rd game.
Yeah, I mean the Jonicus Varus has put in work both games, even though they lost game 2. It seems like a very strong pick for him. Even though we haven't really seen him play it much before, I mean, it seems like they're really proud of the pick. They feel really comfortable on it.
And a champion that I'm very surprised to see, Awoke, choosing to actually go with the blind pick LeBlanc. He blinded Oriana last time, wasn't a fan, and so he's wanting to take this game into his hands. He's wanting to use the burst he has with his Varus, his buddy, and make sure that whatever carry shows up, that squishy is going to pop. And now we see the honestly, I know I cut you off there, but talking about that Leona coming out, that ban that got through, and now we see the Leona Neela combo, which is honestly, like I said, they want to keep getting involved with these really battle mage um, 80 carries.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the LeBlanc, especially with it being blind like that, it could be a interesting flex pick to support. I mean, Xerix loves these spicy supports like the Poppy, so I wouldn't be surprised. As Ornn actually has picked R3, so I
Speaking of
imagine
surprise, yeah,
so I
I'm
imagine top bands are kind of be gonna be coming out since they picked the Ornn early, just or maybe they don't think the Mordekaiser might be a flex. I'm not sure.
I mean, still, I guess there is the potential for a Mordekaiser to be a flex, but I'm really, really surprised that Feathers is choosing to go Ornn into the Mordekaiser here. We talked about how potent Mordekaiser can be against these really heavy tank comps, right? The fact that RAR had 3 tanks let Mordekaiser have an absolute field day. And I mean, while it does give your mid laner a little bit more opportunity to get that counter pick, we see 2 bans coming out from the side of RAR on that Lux and Echo, which were the 2 picks that Kama actually went pretty crazy on these past games.
Yeah, definitely no surprise there to see the mid bands as Kama has been putting in work, especially on that Lux, having the most damage in that game and being the very decisive carry. It is very interesting to see the Neela this early into the Varus, as Neela is a champion that can be heavily hurt by support counterpicks. As it looks like they elect to keep the mid support flex on RAR.
Technically so. It looks like with the fact this Volibear is up, it is a champion that can go jungle, but we also still have the opportunity. Ornn is someone who can kind of dabble in support every now and then. I don't think he usually goes with a Varus. It usually shows up with Senna. But speaking of a really good pick here, we see Silas come out now as a potential mid lane blind. It actually does pretty decent into the LeBlanc and really capitalize the fact that he has that Ornn ult and Volibear ult.
Yeah, the Silas is definitely a spicy pick. It seems like BLM again is looking for these really aggressive picks, looking to beat RAR at their own game and look for these really heavy skirmishes.
Mm-hmm. Now we see Wise Mystical Tree himself, not the tall one, but the wide one, as Maokai ends up being what finishes off this draft for the side of BLM.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. It looks like BLM's just looking for a really strong wombo comp with the Silas, with the teamfight ultis, the Neela Apotheosis, the Leona CC, and the Maokai ult. It's going to
It's
be
a big one.
very, very strong. As Yone is actually locked in for what looks like to be mid lane, so I think it is a LeBlanc support.
Is it the I guess the LeBlanc support is their counter here. I was gonna say Maokai is actually one of the really strong counters into LeBlanc, right? You have the fact that you can go through with your W, stick to LeBlanc, not letting her just blink back for free. But I think LeBlanc support makes it a little bit easier, right? You're playing into the Leona, you're playing into Neela, you're gonna apply a lot of pressure there. And I think right now it gives Yone the opportunity to kind of enjoy that pick into Silas. I think it's a 50-50 matchup, and we're really gonna have to see which mid laner steps up here.
Yeah, I think this, especially if they aren't able to get good jungle ganks, I think that Braum Lives Matters, Neela and Leona bot lane, it's going to be really tough into the Varus LeBlanc. So much range, so much safety in this lane. If they're not
Mhm.
able to get a really good engage, they can just get really heavily poked out.
I mean, hey, you also want to talk about really heavy engage, right? Like you said, I don't see a single range champion unless you count Neela and her Q on the side of BLM, right? They are all trying to get involved, go in, and make sure that these champs pop, right? But on the side of RAR, they have a little bit of range with the Varus, but honestly, other than the Varus, the rest of that team is also wanting to go in. You see this Yone, he's going to be able to get in and abuse the fact that he's going to build his Bork, he's going to build his IE, and he's going to shred through these tanks, but he still has to be really careful because this layered CC from BLM is really strong, and I think it's going to be a lot of pressure on RAR this game.
Yeah, I actually do wonder if Varus is going to opt to go on hit this game with how melee and how tanky the side of BLM is. I mean, Varus is
True.
typically a poke champion with lethality who wants to be poking these squishies, but honestly, the only squishies are Neela and Silas, and they're honestly not even that squishy in the later stages of the game. So I wonder if Varus may elect to go something like the Bork, like the on hit build, even though lethality is stronger right now. I do think it's probably worth exploring this game.
I think it. I think it is worth exploring. I think you got the Yone for a little bit of that sustained tank damage, but we're gonna have to see as this draft could go either way. But finally, we're gonna hop into Game 3 of this banger series so far.
I wake up in silence, a turn in our face, an empty bed. There's no one besides me, and I try to remember what I've said. It's hard to remember, 'cause I can see glass all in my room. I'm searching for answers. Why did you leave? What did I do? Oh, can we turn back time so we can redo last night? I think that I messed up, but it's all erased from my mind.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We're finally, hopefully, in game. I think we figured out what that problem is, so we're gonna have no more issues. Knocking on wood, though. Knocking on wood. As we see, all these teams are getting ready to go. They didn't know about our issue. They're not razzled at all. So we're gonna still see some really banger games here.
Yeah, hopefully there's no more riot ganks gonna happen. But Badger, what do you think about the matchups and on both sides here? Do you have any places that you think we should watch out for?
I think right now I want to look at top specifically, but right now looking at mid as Xerax is getting involved using the fact she's LeBlanc, she's able to do a lot of damage. Ooh, let me see that the Silas he gets traded on, but he's backing here. I don't know if that back actually ends up completing as it's a little bit late as he's not going to be able to make it back in time as he actually completes the back, which I'm very surprised about. If Awoke knows that is the case, he could potentially get an early push on this wave and maybe try to deny some experience from this Silas.
Yeah, that was actually a really good poke trade for the LeBlanc. I mean, LeBlanc will regen most of the damage from that Silas passive, and Awoke will have Prio most likely in this lane, especially on level 2. I don't think that Silas should miss any XP, but he will not have Prio for a while.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And I think right now the Yone, that is where you want to be, right? You want to, especially in these melee matchups, you've got to be careful. And the fact that he was able to get that early push thanks to Xerix, it is absolutely where you want to be. As we now see, Yone's going to get that early vision. It's probably not going to see anything though, as it doesn't spot the Raptors that Maokai already took. So this champ might still be in the dark.
Yeah, and Bali needs to be very careful. Neela passive does make it so you hit level 2 minion early, but it looks like the prio from the double ranged bot lane should mean that they should get the level 2 first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know we talk about that experience passive, but right now, one of these win cons for the side of RAWR is this bot lane, right? You have these two. LeBlanc is an excellent lane bully here. She's super overloaded. And Varus is one of the strongest AD carries on the patch. If you're able to poke these teams down, stay safe, not give Leona a chance to engage like that, good dodge there from Xerix. I think they could be able to milk out a lead here from the side of RAWR.
Yeah, most definitely. As the biggest thing that RAR needs to be careful of is just do not let this Neela Leona get ahead, because with a lead,
Mm-hmm.
Neela gets that collector, Neela gets that extra AD. She can one-shot this Varus.
Mm-hmm. But I think she's not going to be the only person who's going to one-shot this Varus, right? When you look at the entire comp for BLM, you see so much threat, right? This Mordekaiser, he's going to grab you, put him in Brazil, right? Silas is going to be able to get on you, do your burst damage. But we're seeing some good trading there on both sides, top and mid are trading with each other, letting each other know. As now we see a Volibear is potentially positioning to go for some cheese. He's kind of hanging out, looking to see if the tree shows up, but nothing this time.
Yeah, so it looks like both junglers are going to just look for the scuttle crab on opposite sides of the map. However, I think that the positioning of Volibear being on bot side does favor BLM overall, as they don't really have any pressure top side.
And speaking of pressure, Volibear still continuing to hang out, right? He's up a camp advantage, but now we see Maokai is looking mid, but it looks like Awoke was able to spot him out. No, he was not, and he is absolutely not paying attention here as this Maokai is able to completely get behind him. He's having to stall time in this E, but I think with the flash, you're able to potentially get out here. Do you have the Q to get away? The Q3, it looks like he's getting poked down, but we see both flashes come out from the side as we see Yone flashes out, and Drakenrich is not able to get the flash Q to finish off that Yone.
Yeah,
And now, but
good
speaking
attempt.
of not being aware, Shaco walks in on this Silas and he's able to poke him down, but we see it flash trade, and I don't think it's going to be enough, man, as Shaco has the flash right behind him, and Volibear does too much damage early, and first blood goes over to the side of RAR.
Yeah, good counter into the Volibear. I think Maokai not being able to shove out that wave really punches Silas, as he really needed to get that wave under. As overall, actually, it's overall positive for RAR, which is really surprising after that very critical error. As now there's it was two flashes and a death for just two flashes on RAR, which is overall just super positive, especially getting it on this early game jungler in Volibear.
100%. And I mean, honestly, I'm very surprised. We saw very similar vision issues with both Awoke and Kama there. They both didn't realize that the jungler was right on their tail. And while Awoke was able to get out scot-free, Silas, he wasn't the lucky recipient there.
Yeah, As it does look like bot lane did take an early reset here, which could set up prio for Drake, but it looks like Volley's actually going top side here, just
But he's
clearing some
spotted.
vision.
He is spotted there on that ward from Tiny Fists. So it looks like Volibear is willing to just go back, and maybe he wants to get involved with that Infernal Drake as well, especially with a really strong bot lane at this point in the game.
Yeah, with the late reset from Nila Leona, if Volibear books it down to Drake right here, I think they can just use the prio from the Yone from the bot lane with the earlier reset to just be able to look to force down this Drake. But it looks like both teams are actually looking to pressure Drake as Maokai is bot side, and they could be looking after the Raptors into trying to look for a gank into Drake.
And speaking of early priority in this game, you want to talk about the disadvantage that came from that mid lane play. We see while Silas is able to catch this wave, it's a pretty big wave mid. He is down farm. He is down farm and he is down that kill, so he is potentially down experience as well to this Yone. This Yone has 6 on him while the comma's still at 5. So I think you got to be very, very cautious if you're this Silas, even with the tree hanging out around you, because Yone with that ult, with that combo, he's gonna absolutely melt you.
Yeah, and I do want to point out for the side of BLM, like this Nila does have a full BF sword right now, and because Varus has to go that tier.
And speaking of getting involved here, actually, Yone does a great job of R-ing to make sure that Maokai follows him away. This Maokai keeps going around this ward here, this vision cycle here. Yep, it's pinged out by Awoke, but they need to ward that because Maokai keeps abusing the fact that Yone is not warding like he should be.
Yeah, and it just looks like with the prio, they may look for a Drake.
That aggressive trading didn't matter to much, and now we cut back to just the traditional grub take and dragon take dead.
Yeah, it just looks like they're looking to trade Drake. Actually, no, it looks like they're looking for a dive bot lane, but it may be hard with them both being 6. This can go really south really fast, but the Volibear can turn off the tower.
But they're getting involved. This Volibear does turn off that tower, and Neela is able to hit 2 with her ultimate, but it does not matter as the munch from the Volibear gets the kill. Never mind, it's LeBlanc who gets the kill, and if I'm an AD carry, I'm a little salty, but of all the supports to take a kill, LeBlanc's not too bad.
Yeah, LeBlanc getting that early pick does actually help with her burst, especially since Varus isn't as like needing of kills because he still is just gonna do good poke regardless. I do think that the LeBlanc getting the kill is okay as Xerax is gonna be a Fed member again on similar to the Poppy game. Let's see if he can actually translate this lead into a lot more with the LeBlanc over the Poppy, as looks like just a nice Drake for Grub's take. Was a little bit worried if the play didn't go well, they could contest, but it seems like overall very even for both teams. But RAWR is up at 1k gold already.
I mean, that's what you want to see if you're the members of RAWR, right? Xerax is doing an excellent job of getting involved. But speaking of getting involved, we see that the Leona and the Maokai are here, and it looks like Yone is in an absolute pickle as he gets ulted by the Silas, gets ulted by the Maokai, and there is no escape for him as he still doesn't have his flash from that early interaction mid lane.
Yeah, it looks like I caster cursed the side of RAWR.
That you did.
As soon as I said, this is a very good position for RAWR to be in. There was a unfortunate support jungle roam into the mid lane.
Hey, that's League of Legends right there. But hey, the filling in mid laner, LeBlanc showing back up, right? It's champs where they usually are, so they're still able to get a little bit of farm, especially with the Varus, who's kind of able to hang out bot by themselves.
Yeah, and it is really surprising that this Varus LeBlanc really hasn't put this Nila that behind. I mean, Nila is pretty much even in CS at the moment, and that is really bad when you consider that Nila will become a complete menace once she gets items, because she is someone who, even though she is a very powerful early game pick, she can definitely be scale very well into the game with her passive, with the crit scalings.
Absolutely. But I mean, honestly, talking about it, a champ that you would maybe want to be going into, Neil, is that lethality Varus, right? Her W, her cloak does not stop the lethality Q damage from that Varus Q. So it's going to be still a lot of damage, especially if that on-hit Varus comes out. It's not going to be as impactful, but we'll have to see where these builds go. As it looks like Varus is going for that lethality build, but we've seen some aggressive trading in the mid lane here as Awoke has his Conqueror procced, and we see Kama is trying to fight for his own. We see a very interesting flash there, and the ulti goes wide, as right now, Awoke is not in the best spot, and Kama trades aggressively here. I think Kama has the stacks needed. This E is coming up, but it is not going to buy enough time, as Kama is just waiting for his prey to come right back. He's sitting there, and that is not what you want to see, as the Kingslayer finishes off the kill on that Yone.
Yeah, really unfortunate mechanical misplay from the Yone. However, Yone is still going a very high scaling character, especially with this Bork into how many beefy characters there is. But it does look like for now, because of Silas being up 2 kills, Silas is going to be the main playmaker for the side of BLM, as there's a huge lead in the mid lane now.
Yes, I mean, we talked about it earlier. We said the Yone had this lead, but honestly, right now it is completely flipped on its head. Ted, I have played this matchup from the Yone's perspective. If you fall behind, it is such a disaster, right? Yone gets absolutely out traded by the Silas, especially if the Silas is able to control, get his combos up. And right now, it's going to be really tough for Awoke to get back into this game and keep his head composed.
Yeah, unfortunately now Awoke just has to play like really passive and just look to scale, hit
But
those
now
two
I don't
items.
think he's going to be able to as the Nature's Grass comes out, but they're actually choosing to trade onto the Volibear here as Silas has the Volibear ultimate. It's going to see if he chooses to pop it down. There it goes, but Ornn is also here, and that is an excellent knockup to keep this fight alive as Feathers is going in, getting the knockup with his E. Feathers, you absolutely saved this play. Even with this Mordekaiser here, he's trying to chase, but I think they're going to be able to get out here as Shaco is running away, but it seems like it's just going to be that 2 for 0, and that is an excellent play and a great roam from Feathers to save that.
Yeah, Feathers with the absolutely huge Ornn ulti and into the Ornn E completely saves that play, and honestly, kind of saves Yone's game. I mean, Yone did pick up a kill off of that, and overall, super well played by the Feathers on the Ornn again, becoming a really big problem on this champion.
When we talk about aggressive trading here, as Xerix is trying to show off that he knows how to play this champ, as he's making it so Stoke is sweating right now. See? Both this poke coming out from Old Blanc, coming out from Varus, even though there's the pressure bot side. BLM is doing a great job of getting those grubs up on top side, and it seems like they might be able to get all 6 here. But actually, looking mid here, we see that Awoke and Kama are fighting it out with Awoke missing his ulti. We see Kama is trying to fight it out, but the fully Conqueror stacked Awoke is absolutely raining down. But he chooses to go away, as I'm surprised that that wasn't a fun finish off kill. But now we see that Dark and Rich is getting in, he's meeting Shaco. Awoke is there with him too, but that Q, it's able to slow on both. But right now, he's doing a great job of going Nature's Grasp onto that Scuttle. He's going to be able to get away, and nothing ends up happening in that really bloody skirmish there mid lane.
Yeah, Silas luckily able to get the E to stop that W that would have finished him off. As we see that the Yone is starting to come online. He does have a decent lead in CS and is overall a pretty decent spot now, even after that big deficit early.
I'm very surprised there. Right now, Yone is on the grasp of, he is at the point where he needs Bork, right? He is sitting at 70 gold away from that really big breaking point for him. And he chooses actually to cancel his base to try and get this wave punished in. But right now, Maokai and Silas are hanging out, so they might try to punch, but they are pinging on this tree. They know that he's here, but Xerix misses the chain, not able to land, so it looks like this tree might be able to get away, but Awoke is going into his fate sealed mode, and he's going to try to get this damage off onto Maokai. They're able to layer that CC. Shaco gets involved, but a nice flash there from Xerix is able to distortion in and get the kill on the tree. But now they still see Leona. Leona's going to be able to walk out, even with 4 members of RAWR there. Looks like nothing's happening. They're just going to take that 1 for 0.
Again, RAR is so coordinated, using the roam timers and the tempo to get
Getting
a good
back
pick.
involved here as Xerix chose to go in, but Yone does a great job of fighting and gets a kill even with the ult from Silas. The Xerix is not able to drop, and they're making so many plays. And I keep saying it, this mid lead keeps flipping on its head. We had Yone at first, now it's Silas, and Yone's right back into this.
Yeah, and just overall, RAR is doing an excellent job this series, just making sure that they pressure and stop the just stopping BLM right in their tracks. Always having these first rotates, it's just really well played by them. They're using their tempo to their advantage. They're always there first, and BLM is just getting caught by themselves, just not there first, and it's just a really solid coordination from RAR.
And I mean, I know we keep highlighting it, but Xerix is doing an excellent job of using this, honestly, a non-conventional pick. It's grown a little bit in popularity, but a lot of times you aren't going to be seeing it in these amateur leagues, and he's doing a great job 3-0-1 right now, and he's applying so much pressure to all sides of the map. And I think right now he's absolutely their playmaker. He's their star. He played Poppy. He's going to just get it done as they're pinging out bot lane, maybe looking to see if they can get Nila.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Xerix with the full Ludens at 14 minutes on support
Ooh.
is super strong. Can definitely look to burst at least 70% of the Squishy's health bars, as well as just being LeBlanc being such a good roaming support when she's ahead.
And speaking of roaming, we see that Awoke is going to try to go in with the Fate Sealed, but she doesn't realize that Xerix is hanging out, as that is so much damage from the side, but the chain does not pop. I don't know if that would have been enough to kill, but still, they're applying so much pressure to this Silas, and Yone is in such a good spot. But now we see top lane, we cut away, we see that the Ramcorn comes out, but Mordekaiser, he's able to grab Shaco, he's able to grab the Volibear, but I don't think that's the guy you want to grab. This bear is pretty ferocious, he's going to be able to munch away at you, and Shaco is able to get the kill in Brazil.
Yeah, overall, just a really good play from RAWR. I mean, they're always seem to be first on the punch, and if they can keep translating these leads into team fights, it can prove very, very difficult for BLM.
And right now, it looks like BLM might be looking for some plays here, as I thought they were going to go for a lane gate, but they're choosing to Nature's Grasp onto Jonicus here, but the cleanse comes out. And honestly, great dodge there of the Varus ult, as Maokai is able to go W through, but it looks like it's a one-for-one trade as the AD carries kill each other. But right now, it's just Xerix under the tower, and I think they're going to be okay with just taking that as the win.
Yeah, overall, this is super big for RAR. I mean, the 1-for-1 is an absolute disaster when you're making a cross map play, because you're now going to be 1-for-1ing into a
Wait
Herald.
a minute. Dark and Rich, you might be out of position here, as Xerix does a lot of damage, and that distortion absolutely put that tree in the dirt. And he said, "You're not taking my blue, buddy." But now we see Kama is getting involved, but this LeBlanc is very mobile, so I think the Kama on the Silas is not going to be able to pick up that kill. Now Kama is having to unfortunately trot back to the mid lane with nothing in his pocket. But Awoke hanging out with him too, so he's maybe not going to be able to get back into this mid lane. Now we see Shaco is on Kama's tail. Kama's choosing to ulti out with Volibear, but Xerix is still involved. He's doing so much damage. Xerix is unstoppable, but Mordekaiser is here while the Ornn is still up top, as they're doing so much damage to Awoke, and I don't think he's going to be able to get out of this one, as we see Neela's ultimate comes out. I don't know if it was needed, but she's still able to pick up the kill as Varus and Jodicus roam up here. We see a lot of pressure on this mid lane tower, but honestly, a trade for Awoke and a trade for mid, as mid laners end up being the ones that fall there.
Yeah, and overall, really good punish from BLM, getting at least one kill back, as they are really behind and need to start looking for these picks. Get this Neela, who is now their win con, ahead enough to where she can deal with this LeBlanc, with the very ahead at this point Volibear. Neela can become a complete menace in this game, and they really need a play to just try to get Stoic into this game.
Absolutely. And at first, I was very worried about the potential damage output that would be coming from the side of RAR, right? If this LeBlanc did not get ahead, it was going to be tough. But Xerix is doing an excellent job of showing, hey, this is not the case. I'm going to get ahead. I'm going to get involved. And when I have champions like Volibear, when I have champions like Yone to be able to do this tank shred, I think RAR is in a really good spot right now.
Yes, it looks like RAR is looking to make a play onto this Mordekaiser, and if Mordekaiser ulties the Volibear or the Yone, they could look to stat stick into a kill onto the Mordekaiser.
Yes, but speaking of making a play here, we see the Volibear and Xerix moving up onto this Neela, as it seems like Neela got caught by the root from Varus, and Neela falls as Xerix picks up another kill. He has 6 kills under his belt, and right now it's just Cristobal and Darkin, but we see a massive knock up there from Ornn, as he's able to get 2, but we see Feathers trying to fight it out. Now we see Kama goes in, Flash with the W, able to pick up that massive shutdown, and we see Yone actually go for a very interesting TP. Awoke is going for the flank around. He has Fate Sealed. He misses, unfortunately, and he's not able to pick up Dragon Rich. He's not able to do enough damage, even with the Flash, as the tower shot does not kill at the end, but that is a very aggressive play there from the side of Awoke. But this RAWR is going to capitalize on that aggression, as Varus and Jonicus are going to be able to take it down and charge Shelly into the tower, and they might try to go for another charge here, but we see Kama is going in, getting involved, and it looks like they're going to call it there.
Yeah, overall, really well played by both sides. The Silas taking the ulti, trying to get the pick onto the LeBlanc, able to get that shutdown, even though Xerix played really well using the flash, getting that massive 700 gold under his belt, which is exactly what he needed to get back into this game as Yone starts to outscale. He really needs to maintain this, at least staying even, or else this Yone is going to become a real threat once he starts hitting 2-3 items.
Yes, indeed. And honestly, talking about the threat of these mid laners here, I want to talk about potentially, well, I'll talk about it later, as we might be getting some action here, as Mordekaiser is actually choosing to TP up. They're trying to pinch around this Tri-Brush, but we see Leona actually gets an engage off on the Varus, but she doesn't have anybody to follow, as Xerix is choosing to engage here. But Mordekaiser has grabbed someone. He's grabbed the bear and is choosing to fight in Brazil. Never mind, he grabbed the Yone. This is a champion that you might be able to kill, but it looks like he's running out of time, and Yone does a great job of continuing to extend that fight. He's able to get the extended damage here, but Xerix, he's choosing to go in. He gets a massive kill, even when Oh my god, Nealon was able to pop the ult, but it wasn't enough. Xerxes is unstoppable right now. He's going absolutely crazy as now Jonik is able to pick up the kill on the Maokai, and I think a dragon's in their back pocket.
Xerix again with the huge damage, an
Oh,
amazing pick
yeah.
onto that Neela. Using that lead, like we said, to just get a pick on those squishies, make it so that they have so much less damage. Because if Neela and Silas are not able to do damage, this team comp really doesn't have that much damage. Mordekaiser can just get kind of kited. And as Yone scales, it's also going to be really hard as I think he is starting to build a Wit's End. Once he hits that Wit's End, I'm honestly unsure if Mordekaiser can even have a chance at beating him. As the Bork and Wit's End combo for Yone, it's just going to be so powerful.
Yep. Completely agree. And I mean, hey, Ted, we were talking about this earlier, right? This champ, we were saying, hey, the Leona was the one champ that did not get banned, right? And then we see BLM immediately capitalize on it because of the Samir ban. But RAR has an excellent answer into it. This LeBlanc comes out, it is put on an absolute masterclass. She is all over the map. She's getting involved with this mid lane. She's getting involved with this bot lane. They're doing an excellent job and not letting that potential falter in their plans get to them.
Yeah, again, like Xerix is just super good at capitalizing the fact that he's always first to
Now
the
we're
play.
seeing
He's
some
always
aggressive
roaming.
trades here as a woke. He goes back with the Fate Sealed here, doing a lot of damage here to Tiny Fist of Fury. But now it looks like Xerix is trying to get involved. I think he sees him, and he's going to go in with Distortion here, and he does a lot of damage. But whoa! We see a flash come out from Xerix, and I don't know if that was just a style on him, but I don't know if that was intended.
Yeah, unfortunately, the chain was missed by and hit the minion. But we can see how powerful this LeBlanc is, and now it looks like RAR is looking to capitalize on maybe getting a top turret, but they may just use this extra vision on the top side to look to take a base and have use that setup into a Baron play.
Completely agree. I mean, I think RAR has set up such a good vision triangle as well. But now we see Awoke goes on to Kama here, but he's having to eat out. I'm surprised he's choosing to make that trade. But now we see that Leona is going to go in here, but Xerix, he is untouched here. He's going to be doing a lot of damage on the LeBlanc as Cristobal is having to take a lot of the members of RAR here. But the Nature's Grasp, it unfortunately goes wide, and it looks like it's going to be able to hit Jonicus. And it looks like nothing ends up happening except for Feathers, who's able to take that mid-inner. As now he is trading. Stoic, I don't know what you're doing, man. That is a full tank. And I think you do not have the tank bus right now with that Collector Rush. But, and we still get this flash out from Feathers, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Neela has been forced to slow down her build. She really needs some to start building the IE and then some pen, but it looks like she might be opting into getting a little bit of MR for this LeBlanc because she does not want to get one shot in this fight. As much as she really needs this extra damage, she can't afford it at the moment because of how ahead this LeBlanc is. This LeBlanc is absolutely massive.
Completely agree. And right now, Awoke is choosing to aggressively trade here. The Silas might be out of position here. He's not able to get that chain to land. And right now, RAR is doing a great job of making sure that this top quadrant for BLM is absolutely lit up. And right now, Feathers is actually doing an excellent job. He's kind of the unsung hero right now, right? You don't usually expect Ornn to be the one to take these towers, but he's putting in these bot waves. He's putting in these mid waves, even able to take that mid tier too. I think right now, Feathers is doing an excellent job as we see an Ornn sub farm on a Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and Feathers also, if you look at his build, he has so much MR. Mordekaiser cannot stop him on side lane right now. Neither can Silas. It is really hard for him to play, for people to stop Ornn in this side lane. And Feathers using this perfectly, even though Ornn wants to play these team fights, no one can stop him right now until the Neela gets until 3 items. I mean, Ornn is just completely unleashed as now he's level 14, so he can even start giving the ornaments, and who I
Right now, we're
imagine
seeing
will be
Xerix
the
is choosing to trade aggressively here, not staying in range so that she doesn't get sent to Brazil. But right now, Tufts is having to flash out, but Xerix is doing a great job of stagging on him, staying on him. And now we see that the Tiny Fist of Fury finally gets that ulti up. And actually, I believe it was canceled by the Distortion recall from Xerix. Xerix is putting on a masterclass, but now we cut down to bot lane as we see an aggressive trade here as Shaco's able to land the ultimate, but Neela gets a two-man ult herself as she's able to pick up the shutdown on the Volibear. But we see an aggressive flash in from Maokai as he's able to stay on a Woke, but Varus does a great job of trading onto this Neela, and it looks like Varus' Jonicus is going to be able to take that double kill, and he's in a good spot as we see the dragon is spawning for them soon, and that might be Soul Point.
Yeah, I mean that is overall just an absolutely massive fight for RAR. I mean, RAR again, they do scale really hard in this game, and they have such a lead now, almost having about an 8K gold lead, and looking to just set up some vision. If BLM is not able to get creative and look for a pick or look for a really good wombo, this soul, the Hextech soul, which is so powerful on the lethality Ferris, on the poke LeBlanc, it's going to be really hard for them to play in these fights with the as we see LeBlanc looking for a little bit of poke.
Yeah, but that's what she's known for. But now, Awoke is absolutely slashing and dashing on to Kama, as Kama's having to back out. But we see Mordekaiser grabs Yone here. Yone is isolated by himself. And even if he does get the kill on this Mordekaiser, I think he has a lot of people waiting for him on the outside. But he does an excellent job. Great way to get that 1-for-1. As now we see RAWR, with the fact that Awoke was buying time, they're choosing to go for this Drake, and they're getting this soul point. Now continuing to look in this area. We see that the Varus gets the ulti out, but we see Ornn choosing to bring in the Ram Horn. Lands on 2, lands on Maokai, lands on Leona. And Xerxes is doing a great job of buying time here as the 2 members of RAWR are hitting. And Bear and the Ornn are able to take away that kill, and it's soul for the side of RAWR.
Really smart play by Jonikis and Feathers just to make sure that Maokai cannot get in that pit. He does not have flash. He has no way of getting over the pit. So using the CC to just stop any chance of 50-50 to secure the soul was really powerful, especially with how low this Varus ulti cooldown is. They really just did a great job of making sure there was absolutely no chance of that play going south.
Oh, 100%. And right now we're looking at it. They are reaping their rewards, right? They are up 9k gold lead. This is completely different from these other 2 games, right? They are in a very good spot. They are in the driver's seat right now. They are going to be potentially looking to get the big worm. They're going to be looking for Baron here, as it's going to be able to open up the map. We saw this Varus here. With this lead, he has the range here to poke down the members of BLM. This is probably what they're going to be seeking after. Looking for that pick, looking for that objective, and that's going to be the way they take this game home.
Yeah, BLM just really need to look for some sort of desperation pick.
Trades, and that is not what you want to see with that desperation trade, as Xerxes is going in here on Kama, and Awoke is doing a great job of getting involved. The ult doesn't land, but it gives him the space he needs to finish off that kill, and that is a pick you need, especially when your Mordekaiser's bot side.
Yeah, and that's an absolutely disastrous pick. I imagine that RAWR can just get a free Baron now unless they look for a Hail Mary one-shot with the Apotheosis. Neela does have 2.5 items, but she has no pen. She really needs to be able to get a pick on a Swishy because she has no damage besides her passive.
They're corralled here. Shaco has the ability to turn off this tower. If they want to make a play here, I think now could be the time. You have the man advantage, but over on the top side of the map too, we're seeing that these 2 are trading with each other. And it looks like they're just choosing the fact that they're going to keep going in here, trying to push the wave. But right now, Ornn is doing an excellent job of actually trading into the Mordekaiser as Feathers. He's going to be able to take the solo kill on a Mordekaiser. That is not what I'm expecting there. What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, Ornn is just so monstrously ahead with all those towers. I mean, he's almost up a full item right now in terms of gold. As now, that Mordekaiser pick just makes it so with the Ornn TP, it's a guaranteed 5v4.
Yeah, but looking in now, Xerxes finds the angle onto Stoic. Stoic is able to get the Apotheosis off, but right now, Jonikis is actually getting free reign. He has nobody on him as he's able to lay down the damage, and right now, BLM does not have a hope as they're going to be able to take the worm, and they lose 3 people in the process. 4 if you count Mr. Iron Revenant.
And really, really smart by RAWR here to not have everyone on the Baron and actually look to start pressuring these towers.
Yep.
As because they have 0 way to contest on the side of BLM, just getting these waves shoved in, even if they can't get towers here, is just really good.
Chain goes wide. Xerxes is trying to outplay himself. He's feeling himself, but right now I think he got a little too hectic there as the flash comes out and a shutdown goes over to the side of Kama.
Yeah, I think overall, Xerxes really disrespecting the fact that at the end of the day, he is a support and he's even on items with the Silas. It's not, even though he has 8 kills, because he's not CSing, he is just at the same items and can't just look for those crazy plays.
I guess the ornament wasn't enough. What the heck? But still.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're feeling yourself right. You know that you're in a pretty decent spot. You know you're probably up a good amount of gold right now, sitting at 12k in the pockets of RAWR here. I think they just wanted a limit test. But we'll have to see. They have the Baron here, but I think honestly, Xerxes falling there really doesn't help their ability to get these waves in.
Yeah, it really hurts the fact that they're running out of Baron. A Baron's probably at this point almost about halfway done, and they haven't been able to pressure any turrets because they do not have the tempo for it. However, looking at this Neela build, it looks like now Neela is starting to build that pen that she desperately needs to start like turning down these tanks because
Yep,
these
but
tanks are
speaking of
just so
turning down
unleashed.
tanks, Shaco is getting involved. He's able to land the stun onto Leona here, but Xerix is getting involved. Xerix did not mean to go back here, but we now see that Orin Feathers is in a great spot. He's behind 3. Cristobal is super low as Feathers is able to do so much damage, but on the other side, we see that Mordekaiser is trading with the Bully Bear, and it is not looking good for the Iron Revenant as Bear is attacking. He is munching. He is eating. Xerix is getting so much damage off in Kama while he is full HP. I think he has 5 people behind him. He's got to be careful as Shaco flashes in there and is absolutely wailing on him, forced to ult out. But now we see Stoic is the only one left up. Maybe there's an angle here. Never mind. Stoic does not get the damage off, and Xerxes is able to get free kill. While on the top side, Awoke is absolutely wailing. He's able to get the tower and the inhibitor there. But now Awoke is choosing to keep going back in here as we see the E comes out, getting the Fate Seal to land on Leona, doing a great job of comboing the CC, and they're able to get the kill. And I think this could be the final push they're looking for, Ted, as while Kama is trying to go in, he misses the chain, and I think there's nothing stopping them. The Stoic is getting in. He's getting the ulti off. It lands on just Jonicus, and I don't think it's going to be enough as Jonicus is able to flash out. And right there, I think that's going to be curtains as the members of RAWR are going to have the Baron push. They're going to have all members up, and they're going to take it home as they take
Yeah,
this series 2-1.
really clean game by RAWR. I mean, just overall, just a complete massacre in this game. As they have almost like a 18 game K.
My goodness, you're so right. It honestly, yeah, it looks like it ends up being about 13K on, or no, in 18K, as you said. That is a massive gold lead. That is one of the most mind-blowing leads I have seen. And I think honestly, what it comes down to is that was a lot of pressure coming out from, like I said, LeBlanc. But I want to remember, I also want to highlight. I know I talked about the LeBlanc a bunch. Honestly, all members of that team absolutely overperformed that game. They all did an excellent job. They played around each other. They stayed composed. Didn't let that loss in game 2 get to their heads. But honestly, the player I want to shout out is Mr. Weakside Warrior Feathers over there, right? Maybe he just knows the matchup better than I do, but I honestly would have thought playing into Mordekaiser as Ornn would be a stinker matchup. But Feathers going 4-0-11. I don't think he died once when he played the Ornn. I think absolutely shout out to him, and he put on a masterclass here. And honestly, it shows with the fact that honestly, I think on the leaderboards, all 4 members of or 4 members of the side of RAWR were the top of the leaderboard for the least amount of deaths. And I mean, when your most deaths is just Yone with 4 deaths, with some honestly some interesting flash plays, I think you should still be very happy and be proud of yourself for winning this game and potentially trying to shoot up the standings.
Yeah, most definitely. RAR putting an absolute great showing. I mean, Feathers, understanding that all he has to do is Ornn because he can just itemize so much MR with the way that BLM drafted. It just means he just has to like not die early, scale up, and then at that point he can just kind of stat check the Mordekaiser, and just with the million amount of MR that he has, and then eventually he just completely outscaled.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that was a potential draft issue for the side of BLM, right? Their entire top side is magic damage. The Maokai, the Silas, the Mordekaiser. And when you are Mr. Ornn, you are very happy to be able to stack that MR, right? It's going to be good, and I think right now they were able to play around him, and just the fact that they were able to keep that lead going bot lane, it was just a snowball. And unfortunately, BLM wasn't able to stop it in its tracks.
Yeah, and also just the crazy amount of plays that Xerxes was able to make made it so even though RAR was the scaling comp, they didn't really feel like they were ever in a position where they could lose fights because of how fast they were on plays, how early they were setting up, and it just made it so that it was just a really easy game for even though Yone fell behind a little early, he just got a few kills, scaled up, and just became an absolute monster. Mordekaiser couldn't kill him. Silas couldn't kill him. Xerix was putting in so much damage, forcing the Nila to not really be able to play the game. And then the Volley Bear Ornn just completely unkillable.
Mhm. 100%. I don't know. I don't know for you, Ted, but I would say my MVP probably for that series would have to be between Xerix and Feathers. I honestly think all 5 members of that squad could be considered for the spot. But I would most likely probably go with Xerix for like that pick for me, right? I think he put on a masterclass performance on the Rakan. Even though he didn't get the win on Poppy, it's a great pick, and I think he was still able to get a ton of value in those rooms. And that LeBlanc absolutely took over the game, utilizing the fact that hey, we had to let that Leona through. You're gonna pick something that absolutely gets the job done, and I think he is probably my player that I respect the most in that series. I respect all players, but
Yeah, I
who played the
def
most?
I definitely think Xerix is the star of RAR, even though Feathers is playing a completely good masterclass on Ornn, and definitely pretty much played, in my opinion, almost perfectly. The thing about Xerix is that Xerix seems like the person who is always there first. He's
Yep.
always making plays. Even though he's roaming so much, he's setting up Jonikis to be fine when he's going for these roams. And it's honestly really interesting to see how every single play that RAR makes, Xerix is there. I mean,
100%.
he is always making plays early, especially early game. And he is personally my MVP vote, even though Feathers and the rest of RAR played absolutely perfectly. Xerx definitely seems like the main playmaker, and I think that putting him on these roaming picks has just proved really effective for RAR.
Oh, 100%. I do also want to shout out a member of BLM who I thought really stood out. I want to specifically say Kama did an excellent job, especially game two. Utilizing the fact that they had that counterpick matchup on the Lux into the Orianna, was able to completely take over that game, apply so much pressure. Even if we weren't able to see all of it, I still was looking at the gold diff. That Lux put in the work, especially even Tiny Fist, right? On the Mordekaiser, we're still able to do that damage. But Kama, honestly, making on these playmakers, the Echo, the Silas, while they weren't able to get it done, we still see that Silas was absolutely brawling with a woke. And if some of these fights went the other way, I think this game could have been completely turned on its head.
Yeah, definitely Kama played very well. I think just BLM's main thing that they need to focus on is just making sure that they have the tempo to make these objective fights, because I felt like RAR is always there first.
Mm-hmm.
Which and I think the even though we shouted out Xerix, I think RAR shows that they're just a really solid 5 man where they're always there, making the play first. They're never getting caught solo unless they're except for that one play by Xerix, which at that point it didn't really matter. But just every single time they're looking for something, it's 4 of them. And I think that was something that they really punished, and I think that was something that was really well done by them.
100%. And I mean, well, we see that series, how it ends up going. It is a absolute, absolutely where you wanted to perform as RAR, right? You're able to get the win. You're able to go 2-1. You're able to advance up the standings. You were sitting at fifth. You might be trying to go for that fourth spot now. But for BLM, it's okay. It's not playoffs, right? So you take this loss, you take it with stride. But we're gonna have to see how the rest of these weeks play out, as Sentinel still has a regular week ahead of them. With week 9 coming up, going to be finishing where those playoff seedings go. But also we got to be accounting for the fact that RAR is really holding up the other teams. Right, we see the conduit, we see dropping point from finding that spot into playoffs. But still, thank you guys so much for watching. This was an excellent series. We're so sorry about the issues with game two. Samira's just a broken champ, I guess. But we'll have to be watching out for that moving forward. And Dira, I also want to shout you out. You did an excellent job today, and I think this is your second time casting, right?
Yeah, and I think you did a really good job doing the play-by-play, even with the delays. Keeping the flow, keeping the vibes up was overall a really fun series. And thank you for having me.
Of course. And with that, I want to thank all of the viewers at home. I want to thank all of our members here, the members of RAR. Honestly, I want to specifically shout you guys out. We really do appreciate the fact that you guys did that, to be willing to ban the smear to let this game go through. It was so fun to watch, and it would have been really a bummer to not see it. So appreciate that for you guys. And hey, maybe you got to use the LeBlanc as because of it. But still, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday.